perceive something that you're not the frequency of. So
Think about it.
well, no, I'm just trying to get back to where we fucking were. Gabe, go ahead and edit this out, please, because we're retarded.
It's all the same frequency. You're already at the frequency. You're just becoming aware of the frequency.
Acknowledging you can tap into.
Yes. Once you become aware of it, you are whatever the quote was you said earlier, the lips and the ears thing is harmonizing.
The lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding.
Yes. So you're coming to the understanding of the frequency that you were at.
Does that make sense, Gabe?
No.
What doesn't make sense?
I fell asleep. Sorry. What were you
All
saying?
of it.
Well, you're going to have to help me help you there, bub.
Wake up!
Wake your ass up. Welcome to fucking P3.
Manifestation.
We're talking about the Kabbalion and Hermeticism today, by the way.
Purple
so
pill
welcome to
phenomena.
the show. It's Memorial Day weekend.
Yep.
I mean, we really didn't do anything, but
I went camping.
thank
I
you.
went camping.
I just want to say thank you to everybody in previous wars, not the ones in the last 30 or 40 years, but all the previous wars that allowed us to have the great freedom we do today.
Open age cares. Open air cages. I can't talk today.
Open air cages?
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So that's a contradiction in itself.
Yeah.
But
with
we're going to
invisible
cover that.
fences.
Yeah, just at a logical consistency. We're going to cover that later. But you're probably
You didn't
gonna
do
not like
anything.
this after
You
that.
didn't do anything over the weekend.
We grilled out a couple days ago.
What'd you do, David?
That's all we did.
Yeah.
To be honest with
Oh, you guys
Played
grilled out
Rocket
over here.
League.
Yeah. Had some burgers and
Yeah, we hung out a little bit.
some steak kebabs.
Run around with them dogs a little bit.
Yeah, I was on Facebook and I seen Spike Cohen's post about there was like over 1 million people that have died in all the wars combined. I think 1 million.
What, just
Did you
in
see that
like
one?
the Middle East? With
No,
us
in
being?
every war combined that America has been involved in.
1 million people.
Maybe it's 1 billion.
Okay,
Yeah,
I could see a billion. I could see a billion, but not 1 million,
World
dude.
War
We kill a lot of
II?
fucking people.
Sorry.
You gotta think about all the Indians and everything else.
No,
that-
it says 1 million. 1,186,000. He says that's the number of the U.S. military personnel who have died at war.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. So just
that makes
military
sense.
personnel.
Yeah.
See, that's
Yeah.
fucking sad.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
That's fucking sad to begin with, is because these people are going and fighting for what they believe to be freedom when it's really not, because we're less free every day.
Yeah, well, that was the point of his post. Listen to this. It's kind of long, so bear with me. Today is Memorial Day, a day for us to remember and honor those who have fallen. For many, this is a day for cookouts, fireworks, vacations, and spending time with loved ones. For some, this is just another day to mourn their lost spouse, parent, child, sibling, friend. Let's be very clear. The best way to honor the fallen is to stop the wars that continue to send more to join them. Millions of Americans, some of the best salt of the earth people in this country, swear an oath to support and defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. They join to protect the American people and our freedoms with promises of financial and educational support. Instead, they are sent overseas by domestic enemies to fight and possibly die to protect foreign dictators, cartel bosses, central bankers, and defense contractors. Back home, we are less free, less safe, and more at risk of blowback. Most of those good folks come home often with PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, chronic pain, and other ailments. They are subject to the worst healthcare system in this country. They suffer from some of the highest rates of poverty, homelessness, imprisonment, addiction, overdose, and suicide. They signed up to protect us, and our government used them and spat them out to rot. But today is about the ones who came home in a flag-draped casket. They signed up to protect us and never made it back. Their families and friends had to find a way to move on with their lives, always aware of that giant gaping void that their loved ones lost left. And the monsters who sent them to die wave little flags and make pandering statements about how some gave all while they send the next batch of victims off. It is long past time for this to end. I've heard from countless active duty personnel, veterans, and families who've lost their loved ones, and they have all asked the same thing. Please demand an end to wars. Bring them home for good. On this Memorial Day, enjoy the time off with your loved ones. Remember those who can't join us, and commit yourselves to demand that our government end the war and bring the troops home. 1,186,000 is far too many already. Let's honor the fallen by reclaiming the living. Sorry, that was kind of long.
No,
but
thank you.
It needed to be said.
Yeah.
Thank you,
That's
Spike
good.
Cohen, for saying that.
But at the same time, there is contradictions to all of it because you're sending kids off to kill each other.
Yeah.
You know,
They're not old enough to legally buy alcohol, but you can send them over to die and kill people for an imaginary picture of what our country is that doesn't reflect the reality of what our country is and the people running it.
Yeah.
So you're just sending the poor kids to fight the rich man's wars, but motherfuckers like Donald Trump and every other fucking president has dodged a goddamn draft.
Yeah.
Granted, it hasn't always been draft dodging presidents, but here lately, yeah, it's been draft dodging.
I think the worst part is that they're sending 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids over to fight wars and shoot at people and get shot, whatever. A hard life. You made a choice, but your brain is not fully developed until you are 25. Our government is sending people over who have not fully developed their identity or persona or any part of their mind all the way off to fight wars for them.
Isn't that their tactic?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's why they go into high schools and try to recruit young. I mean,
Nazi
can't-
youth,
now that we're talking
You
about
can mind control an 18-year-old
yeah,
fucking for sure.
easily.
since we're talking about more the negative side of it, you know, do you believe there's also a positive side for some teens that maybe don't have an outlet to
Oh,
Like,
most
don't-
definitely.
Oh yeah, I mean,
because I've heard so many success stories of like I wouldn't have been shit without
well, like
the military.
Jocko.
Yeah,
Look at Jocko.
The,
you know,
the structure
Jocko's the
it can
shit.
provide and the drive that it can give you to be more than what you already are can help a lot of people.
and I feel like we could still have that structure without going into other countries and you know doing
Yes.
what we
Yeah.
do.
Yes.
We can still have a military and keep them home. And
there is a middle ground.
yeah. We're not saying get rid of it completely. We can have it, but
Our only point being is being anti-war is really the only way you can support the troops in a way.
true.
Because if your
Contradiction.
argument exactly,
All of it.
but if you want them to come back home safe and all this other shit, well, why are you sending them over there to begin with? Because you have to investigate the
Fight
whole reason. Terrorists that,
Terrorize
that
this.
oh well, what do you know? We created Al Qaeda. You know, we were in bed
ISIS.
with Osama bin Laden during the whole fucking.
Didn't we
9/11
supply
ordeal.
what are the guys in Syria?
the Taliban,
No, not the Taliban.
I know what
ISIS.
you're talking about.
ISIS?
Yeah,
Well,
ISIS.
Didn't we supply them with weapons a long
Yeah,
time ago
we
to
funded them
fight?
and-
when they
Yeah.
were Al Qaeda.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we essentially were funding and helping insurgency groups within the Middle East that were fighting the Russians and shit. So when the Russians left, and we were the ones cracking the whip,
Yeah.
then they turned on us with our own weapons and our own training.
Yeah.
So
Probably after they seen
that
the
was when it
fuckery.
was Al Qaeda
Yep.
and the Taliban, and then it turned into
Hamas.
ISIS.
Akita.
All these different
All of them.
insurgency groups come from outside forces like the United States or Russia.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was actually listening to Tim Kennedy here recently. Salute that Patreon.
Yeah. I like Tim.
Patriot, my
I
friend.
like Tim a lot.
Yeah, great guy. He was actually talking about the Mujahideen, his, basically pictures of these Israeli Nazis that were, you have Israeli men, dark skin, and then you have the two giants standing next to them, blonde hair, blue eyes, and the Mujahideen is where supposedly they actually came from. When it
Well,
comes to
and then Jocko,
Taliban and
Jocko even talks about fighting. They called him the Muj, and he talks about fighting the Mujahideen. And that's just something that you could go to. You can listen to Jocko's podcast where he talks about that if you wanted to.
I
But
have a huge Jocko flag in my gym.
good.
Good. Yeah, that's what it says on it. Good. Every time I feel like a bitch, I look at Jocko and
I want to
I
try
lift a
his
fucking
drink.
kettlebell.
and I
I'll try his
remember
energy
I'm a
drink.
bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
for sure.
Jocko's an animal.
Yeah. And see,
But
and,
now-
and that's the whole good side of the military is the guys that come out of like Jocko, like Tim Kennedy. But I feel like I don't even know if they have a maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe they just don't talk about it. You would think when they spend that much time in something, they would start to see some of the fuckery going on. Like, that
But
didn't
then
look right.
now I get what you're saying,
Or
but
maybe
at the
we
same
don't
time-
see enough.
But at the same time, you have to consider, man, I'm in the Middle East fighting dudes that are trained from the time that they were children to kill me. So if I start not believing in why I'm here,
I'm gonna
that can
die.
eventually
I can get myself killed.
make
Yeah.
me. I can slack, and therefore, I'm going to be the next guy getting drug off the street.
Because there's been plenty of military personnel that have felt that way.
Right.
And got the fuck out. You know,
Right.
because
Or
of
they're
that.
like, fuck, dude, I've only got like another like year on this deployment and I'm fucking done. I
Yeah.
mean, us collectively know a lot of motherfuckers that have been in all branches of armed service.
Yeah, I used to work with one.
And-
He's the one who explained that to me, that he started to see a lot of issues.
A lot of
Wrongs.
the views I get about the military come from veterans.
Yeah.
So it's
a
like
lot of them-
going to school. You know, I went to a vocational school, 2 of them, and a lot of guys there are there on their VA loan. So basically my whole friend group are veterans that have seen combat.
Yeah.
So when we're all drinking and doing, college shit, eventually those stories come out and it's horrific. Watching, knowing people who've seen their brothers in arms die right in front of them, their best friends being killed in front of them. And for what? That's our point of the
Resources.
show. For what?
Terror.
It's a waste of life.
It's not
Terrorists
even-
that we, like you said, we've ultimately had some part in creating.
The fucking lizards are pulling the fucking strings, and it's just another aspect for us to keep fighting amongst ourselves with. Because if you say any of this to out in public, people are going to get mad at you like you're disrespecting the soldiers. It's like, no,
Yeah.
I respect the soldiers because I don't want them to go to war to begin with. If we go to war, it needs to be a legitimate reason for war, not just over some fucking Saudi oil.
Well, there is a legitimate reason, right? They have radicalized everybody over there.
That's okay. That's a reason, not a legitimate one.
No, but what I'm saying is, and hear me out on this, I'm probably going to butcher how I'm going to explain this, but you said this has happened over, what, probably 50, 60 years of them funding over there in the Middle East, what, Al-Qaeda, all them. I don't know how long they've been an organization, but, or
Old man
whatever you
Bush.
want to call them. But, so ultimately now, after those 20, 30 years, let's just say, of them giving guns and going over there and just poking the bear, you've created to where, you may have killed somebody's father or brother or son, and now their whole family
Radicalizing.
hates you. Yeah, they're radicalized. That's what I'm saying. They're radicalizing them, and now you have a reason, because now they're picking up guns and wanting to shoot and kill people and innocent people.
What's that movie?
So we
It's-
can't stop now.
It's not American Sniper, is it? Where he shoots at that kid.
Yeah, it was American Sniper.
He shoots a kid on a balcony. His dad comes out.
Yeah.
Sees his dad. Who in the Middle East is going to be the one to kill a local civilian? It's going to be the invading forces. So
Well,
it's not like it's
I'm
a
sure-
question as to who shot him.
I'm sure the Taliban kills a lot of
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
religious reasons. I know is a big one.
so this kid's outside on a balcony. He's got a gun. Puts him down. Dad comes out, sees that his son's been shot, grabs the gun. Sniper puts him down.
Yeah.
Grandfather comes out, sees both his son and his grandson have been shot, says fuck it, grabs the gun, gets put down.
Yeah.
That's what we're fucking talking about when we come to radicalization. And I just shared this post on it's tragic. I mean, the whole reality of the wars in the Middle East is tragic, because it would be one thing if we were just killing the bad guys, but the whole time we've been killing weddings, funerals, schools.
I just sent you a thing the other day of all those photos of those kids that died in
neighborhoods.
Those,
Could you
bomb
imagine?
drops.
I'm not going to describe some of these photos because it's a
pretty
real
bad.
fucking tearjerker.
Yeah.
But
Oh no, describe it. There's kids missing arms.
yeah,
and
there's
literally
there's
dead.
a guy coming
burnt.
walking out of rubble holding one of his kids and a baby that's got limbs blown off.
And I
of
feel
it.
like they should show this shit on the news. And
well, but
TV.
then people would become angry.
Yeah.
I
that's
think they
what we're
were at
doing.
one point in Vietnam, and then they stopped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The whole thing is
it's fucked up. So we're gonna get off of this and get back to our original subject, but we just wanted to bring this up in light of Memorial Day, we just want to say thank you to everybody who's lost their lives. And whether it's for freedom or not, just, your heart was in the right place when you went over there.
Yeah.
So we just want to say thank you. Thank you to our friends and loved ones that have fought for us. And we just appreciate it. So all in all, let's talk about the fucking Kabbalion. Left turn. P3, baby.
Oh, I fell asleep. My bad. What'd you say?
Oh, shut the fuck
What are
up.
you talking about?
So
Hermeticism.
we're talking about Hermeticism. And let me just start off with this. The lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. Now, Hermetic philosophy dates back to 200 or 300 BC, that we can date it back. Now, Hermeticism gets its name from
The god Hermione, or what was it?
ancient philosopher, Greek philosopher named Hermes Trismegistus. So Trismegistus
Thrice great.
means the thrice great, the great, the greatest motherfucker ever. But that also translates into ancient Egypt as the god Thoth. They think he was the same person. Because if you read the Hermetica and you look at the Emerald Tablets, they are very similar. So it's just two different civilizations adaptions. Like he kind of writ one for this civilization and another for this other civilization.
Mm-hmm.
So,
The Nicoles. It all got split up. They all got sent
Right.
the same information
And
in
then-
3 different ways.
and Dead Sea Scrolls and all this other shit comes out.
Emerald
So-
tablets.
The Greek gods deified him as Hermes, the scribe of the gods, and that's where we get the guy with the winged shoes
I want
And-
those shoes.
and the what is it, the Caduceus, the staff of Hermes Trismegistus.
Something like that.
So that's where we get I can't remember the name of it, but the snake symbol for medicine, but it's only one snake for medicine.
Oh, is that the one that's like the snakes are like
Eating each other.
intertwining?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking this up so I don't butcher the name of it, but
Oh,
What was that? The snake thing called?
it's like the Caduceus or something like that.
God, I'm such a horrible speller.
American education.
Thank God for Google. This symbol you're talking about right here. I've seen this on.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's on the Blue Cross Blue Shield, isn't it? Or no?
That's what it looks like.
Something medical. Looks like something
Yeah.
medical.
Well,
The Caduceus is the staff carried by Hermes in the Greek mythology, and consequently by Hermes Trismegistus.
Yes.
In Greco-Egyptian mythology.
see, even tells you Greco-Egyptian. And those are the two civilizations we get, the Kabbalion and the Hermetica and the Emerald Tablets.
Yeah, it's a medical symbol. Oh,
So-
it isn't the medical system.
No, it's not. That's what I'm saying. Is the medical symbol is only one snake, and I can't remember what it's called.
Like this one.
Yes.
Huh.
But now, if you look at it, it's serpents and wings. So the winged serpent,
Yeah.
and that's going to come up multiple times on this show. Another little fun fact is if you guys seen the show Dark
No.
on Netflix?
We've been over this. I don't watch TV.
Okay, except for Caleb because he's a hermit.
I just got 24-year-olds. Yeah, TV is not a thing
Hermeticism.
anymore.
He's a hermit. But there's a reason why it's called hermit too, because hermetic in the English definition means self-contained.
Yes.
So that's why you could buy hermetically sealed jars. You call motherfuckers hermits. We got hermit crabs you could buy at Petco.
Why are you calling him a hermit? You're a hermit as well.
Yeah, that's true.
You are.
I never denied it though.
Yeah.
Why don't we give them a definition of hermeticism? Do you think what I have pulled up right there
Yeah, fuck
sounds
it. Go
about
ahead.
right?
Go ahead.
Hermeticism or Hermetism is a label used to designate a philosophical.
Philosophical.
Oh my God!
I struggled with that word for
Yikes.
years.
Philosophical system that is primarily based on the purported teachings of Hermes Trismegistus a legendary Hellenistic combination of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth.
This is Wikipedia's definition, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and
I'm
just
gonna
a
have a hard
little
time on
side
this
note,
podcast reading
you see the Thelema logo right there too. It's all connected. Everything we were going to talk about, for the most part, except for our true crime series, and just whatever else, maybe our after shows where we're just getting fucked up talking about this. But everything's going to tie into itself, and you're going to be able to see that when we say it's not multiple conspiracies, it's just one vast conspiracy. This is what we're talking about, because everything's connected to it.
So start us out. You said it started in between 300 and 400 AD, and it was founded by who?
Well, Hermes, it says purported, but what the followers of Hermes, that's why the Kabbalion is written by the 3 initiates.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just what the followers of Hermes call themselves, because they're initiated into the Hermetic philosophies.
Mm-hmm.
And we've covered this on past shows, that Hermeticism is just an acknowledgement and an understanding of universal law. So that being said, there are 7 principles of Hermeticism. And those 7 principles will be, just saying, I'm pulling this up.
Mentalism.
Well, let's just go in order. Let's just go in order. The principle
That's
of
all I learned.
mentalism. Oh, you already got it up. Oh, you did. Oh, my bad. Okay, the all is mind, the universe is mental.
The Kabbalion.
This is where quantum physics and everything else comes in.
Do you want me to read these off?
You know what? Yeah, Gabe, you go ahead.
The 7 Hermetic principles of self-mastery, the principle of mentalism, the principle of correspondence, of vibration, of polarity, of rhythm, of cause and effect, and of gender.
Okay, now, a lot of these are kind of redundant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Common sense.
Yeah.
Can you kind of go over each individual one of like what is mentalism?
Well, the mentalism basically is just like what we talked about last week, how reality isn't perceived until you acknowledge it. That's essentially what this is saying. But you also have to remember that all this was written before Christ.
Yeah.
200, 300, 400 years before Christ. It depends on who you ask.
I think the easiest way to understand the mentalism is simply that your mind creates reality. Any reality you deem to wish to perceive or create, your mind is the starting point of all of it.
Now, for the second one, the principle of correspondence, that's just the micro and the macro that we always talk about. Everything on the smallest scale is almost identical in the way it works. It is identical in the way it works on the largest scale. The all is the one, and the one is the all. As above, so below.
Yeah.
The lowest frequency to the highest frequency.
Yep. It's all frequency, just on different, just somewhere else on the scale.
It's just a different wave.
Yeah.
Frequency.
Now, the principle of vibration, nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. That's pretty self-explanatory.
Everything changes.
And everything is held together. What determines what those particles are going to be is the rate in which it vibrates. And that's it. Because just like we covered last week, everything is the same thing on the smallest scale. Now, the principle of polarity, that's going to be positive and negative, the poles at which everything oscillates at.
A higher, lower vibration.
Exactly. Principle of rhythm, everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates.
So we see that all the time, and we actually use, little cliche metaphors and crap for it all the time. Where, if something really bad has been going on in your life and you constantly, something's got to give and something good has to happen. And something good will happen. It is the pendulum. It has to go back and forth no matter what. But
Nothing
the
lasts forever.
mentalism of Hermetic philosophy is how you dictate your perception of what is good and what is bad.
And on a quantum scale, I mean, it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
Because we're all our own quantum computers. We are living quantum computers. I mean,
You're creating your own reality constantly. Everyone is. We're just corresponding those realities with one another.
and this can also be explained by the Fibonacci
Yeah.
sequence. Okay, because everything comes back to where it started.
Mm-hmm.
So you have it starts in a single point and it builds and it builds and it builds until it comes back to this one singular point.
Our existence moves in a constant spiral, which is the Fibonacci spiral sequence.
Our galaxy is literally a spiral
Literally.
that's being sucked into a black hole, by the way.
Yeah.
That's what makes it spiral. You guys are going to be decimated in a few billion years.
Good luck with that one.
But following the spiral, you're constantly coming back around to where you previously were and looking at it from a different point of view.
Yeah, with new information.
Mm-hmm. That's good stuff.
All right. Now we got the principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. This is probably one of the more profound ones, because what this law kind of acknowledges is that there are no coincidences.
None.
So, none at all, because everything is a culmination of causes and effects.
You are the cause and the effect of it.
Exactly. And now how you choose to affect it, it will change its cause. So now, just a second, let me make sure I get this verbiage right.
Verbiage.
Okay, there are many planes of causation. Now, when you hear us talking about the different tiers to the information, like you have surface level shit, you have shit just behind closed doors, and it kind of tiers up into like the Illuminati kind of bracketry, right? Now, really, that's just a way of trying to explain it, but really there are no levels. It's just like when people try to talk to us about ascending and all this other shit. It's like, bro, you don't understand. There is no ascension.
You're already there.
What you want to achieve is baseline, what we should be.
Yeah.
And all the indoctrination and all the social engineering and all the bullshit that weighs us down literally just brings us down below baseline. So when you're talking about ascending, when I'm talking about ascending, you're just shedding all that bullshit, and eventually you'll be where you should, which is baseline.
So when Justin talks about the programming and all of that, it affects your consciousness, your base consciousness, your base awareness of your reality. They
Conscious
bring you
and subconscious.
Yeah, your conscious mind and your subconscious. So when we move beyond that, we work into the unconscious mind. Programming and things like that don't really work that well in the unconscious mind. It is a vast majority of everything you could possibly imagine exists in this unconscious mind. And this unconscious mind is a collective of everything. So the programming doesn't work to that grand of a scale for them. So when we talk about ascending and things like that, we are talking about becoming aware of what your unconscious mind is doing. So when we talk about the cause and effects of these things and how far they expand, your unconscious mind is part of these cause and effects. If you need something to occur, your unconscious mind and the collective can allow that to become a causation for you to have the effect that it needs. If that makes any sense at all.
Did you get all that, Gabe?
It's like,
Why are you even asking?
Yeah, Gabe's over here like, what the fuck did this kid just say to me?
well, it's like, ask yourself, are you a cause or are you an effect?
You're both.
You know, and
You're
it's
both.
all the principle is about acknowledging that.
There is a reason you are causing something to occur for you to see the effect of it.
Most of the time for humans, it's the easiest path.
Like when that video of the little girl, leaning over the theme park or zoo thing and the seal just attacks her. That's a good example.
I haven't seen that.
I've seen that.
That's so great.
All right. Principle 7, the principle of gender. Now, this is one that's going to piss off some fucking people
That's great.
because we use the term gender and people correlate it with male and female.
Which I get.
But, well, that's surface level. This comes back to principle 6 with the different planes of causation, right? And consciousness and just planes of thinking in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's always it's a stairway of infinite stairs. So
Dave's over here like, the fuck you mean stairs?
It's fucked up, bro.
I'm
sorry.
Natural enemies, you know
Dude,
what I
you're
mean?
a fucking
Stairs,
asshole,
curbs,
bro.
fences, natural enemies.
Dude, see, that's gonna be a cause.
Yeah,
for
I'm gonna
Caleb
trip
to get
down.
his shins
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
destroyed.
Dave's gonna run me over. I'm gonna fall down some stairs sometime this week. Like, it's gonna happen now. I put it out there.
All right, now the principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. So that's just another way of describing the polarity.
Mm-hmm.
And two pieces. What's up?
I gotta go pee.
Okay,
Can
we'll
you
be
go
right
grab
back.
that
We'll be
cup out of
back.
the bathroom?
All right, we're back. Crisis averted.
Potty break.
Now, we were talking about basically the law of gender and how it permeates everything. And a lot of people think it's like just dicks and pussies, right?
So much more.
It's not. Now, that's something that can translate into the physical, but that's not the only defining thing,
Yeah.
right?
Take your definition of it and throw it out the window for a
Because
second.
it's fucking wrong. Now, really, all we're trying to say is that that's just the positive and negative. That's just another expression of the polarity. That's all. That's all we're
It's-
saying, and that's all the Kabbalion's saying.
It's two sides of a coin. If you think of energy as a coin, you have masculine and feminine energy. This creates balance within us, and we can see a lack of that balance with, the whole toxic masculinity bullshit, even though the majority of us were raised by our mothers.
Yeah, doesn't make sense. it's a lack of testosterone.
Every one of you.
Yeah, but if you're not balancing that masculine and feminine energy, I mean, like, I'm a guy, I really like flowers. They smell fucking good. So that's,
I'm a guy. I really like pussy. They smell really good.
that is part of me balancing the feminine energy with the masculine energy. Creating that balance helps you be in the moment. It helps you understand Hermetic philosophy that much easier.
It also, we were outside bullshitting while David was taking a piss break, and Gabe had brought up some really good points about the whole spiral, how it kind of all comes back into itself. The pendulum, as far as it swings to the left, it's going to swing the same way to the right. That's when we start talking about the Fibonacci sequence, and everything always comes back to its starting point, because you always have, like, if you think about it, one single idea. Now, if you pursue that idea and you see it out throughout its spiral, it's going to build upon itself. The spiral is going to get bigger. It's going to keep building on itself until it all culminates back into this one point, which could either be success or failure, essentially. Now, Gabe, you wanted to ask something.
Yeah, I was just wondering if this was more like Hermeticism was some sort of their religion back then, per se. Just using religion as just to describe what we have nowadays.
If we're using it in the same terminology as what we would have today, it would be a religion.
No,
I mean,
it's just words, people. It's
yeah,
not an actual
it is
religion.
a belief system, and your beliefs, as we can see in all kinds of things, shape our reality, our understanding of that reality. So I'd think of it as a religion.
And really, now I had said this on one of our other episodes that if I was talking to somebody, I would just tell them it was my religion. But any other, in air quotes, initiate into the Hermetic philosophies, which they're really just kind of, I'll say it again, they're just acknowledging the laws of nature and using that to live their lives. So
Yeah, like this says, the universe runs on natural laws. Apples fall, birds fly, we live, we die. When we take the time to understand these laws, we can use them. We can leverage them. We can push against gravity to fly. We can use the knowledge one day we must die to live better lives. kind of like you were describing to me, Caleb, outside about the Egyptians being able to become more advanced due to
Yeah,
So-
because okay, now that goes into we were talking about the higher consciousness thing too, and what Caleb's going to explain. Now, let me go ahead and say this: Gabe and David are my brain babies.
no.
Yes. And I am a brain baby of Caleb. Caleb is the one that got me down.
Don't ever fucking call me a brain baby
You're fucking-
again.
Don't-
dude, my
don't do
brain
that.
spooge was all up in your brain, mom.
Don't call me a
and
brain
it fucking
baby.
created you. I need a genetic
It's fucking
test on
terrifying.
that. Oh, remind me to talk about the whole Ancestry.com just got paid billions of dollars to hand over all their genetic shit to a company.
I didn't see that coming.
My old lady was just showing me the article yesterday. But anyways, we're talking about higher consciousness and how it
Egypt.
correlates to Egypt and to the Greek, Roman, all that shit, because all the ancient civilizations knew this because they all said it in one way or another.
Yeah. So I'll take the Egyptians or anywhere in the stair-step evolution. So with Hermeticism, when we came back around to that point of the spiral, we hit a higher state of consciousness. We understood the natural laws of everything, particularly sound. So when we look at like the Egyptian pyramids, we have no idea how they were built whatsoever for a civilization back then. We can't even figure out now how to do it with what we have. It's impossible. You cannot do it. So when we hit a higher state of consciousness, our understanding of how this reality works and how to build within this reality using things like frequency and vibration and sound changes drastically. And as long as everyone on the planet is vibrating at that consciousness, you can maintain this. So
But you can only maintain it for longer. You can't.
Yeah,
it's not definitive.
it's not a definitive thing. You have to have the highs and the lows of the frequencies and the vibrations.
Because that's natural law.
So during the stair-step evolution, everyone on the planet was vibrating at this one frequency. And so their evolution, their technology, everything skyrocketed. Then eventually, humans being humans most likely, and differing opinions and wanting to try and use it in different ways, allowed them to start falling back down into the lower half of the vibration and losing it.
So we were talking about higher consciousness, and essentially what Caleb was just discussing was the collective consciousness. So this is just another expression of the all, is we're all creating a reality in which we're all living in actively.
Co-creating.
We're all co-creating this reality. Essentially what I'm saying is there are aspects of individualism when it comes to this, because the all starts out with us, but we're made of the all.
Yeah, we're a
So
reflection of
there's
it.
yeah, we're just an expression. So that's a part of the paradox. But now when you're talking about the collective consciousness, this is where we get things like the Akashic records.
It's not actually out there in the universe. It's inside of your head,
Yes.
in case you were wondering.
Yes, but now if you could just internalize my explanation is, because this is how I learned it from people like Abraham Hicks and Cryon and shit, right? All these people who allegedly channel these higher dimensional beings, right? Well, the Akashic records are filled. Everything in the universe that isn't being accompanied by something, like our bodies, are displacing this goo, right? In the Akashic records. Every action, every thought, everything that happens is immortalized within this goo, for example. So the whole thing with the Akashic records is that you can actually tap into these things and learn things like about past events, about your current state, other people, your house even. So that's just a little quick.
The Akashic records are a compendium of all universal events, thoughts, words, emotions, and intent ever to have occurred in the past and present or future in terms of all entities and life forms, not just human. They are believed by Help me out with that one.
What is it?
Theosophist? Theosophist? I don't know. To be encoded in a non-physical plane of existence known as the mental plane. It is believed that all thoughts, words, intent, etc. generates its own unique frequency or vibration, which is stored in the Akashic records. So like you're saying, it was mental, right? It's not an actual physical
Right.
Yeah.
Because
book.
we can, no.
I mean, you
and
can
it's not-
perceive it as a book if you'd like
If-
to.
I guess if you wrote it down, right?
If that helps you,
Yeah.
if that's what helps you visualize and get you to be able to access the Akashic records, then that's fine. But you don't have to think of it as a book.
And everybody right now making fun of me for my theosophist, fuck you.
I don't even know where that word is. I still can't see it. I forgot my glasses.
Bro, I'm going to have a hard time.
A good
like,
way to
reading all
think
these
about the
words.
Akashic records is the unconscious mind or the unconscious collective. A good way to connect to it is through our unconscious understandings. But the Akashic records, I wouldn't really think of it as a past, present, or future thing because everything exists in one single moment,
In the now.
in the now. So we will perceive it as the past or the present or the future, but it's all happening in one single moment somewhere in our existence. And you can use meditative training to be able to access these things, being able to build mental images and creating that space within your mind to tap into it.
Is this what the Egyptians were tapping into? Is that how they were building the pyramids?
In a sense, yes, because when you look at Hermeticism and understanding natural laws, these Akashic records are kind of a good reference point of how to understand them. So when you hit a higher frequency, you can tap into them more easily. When you have an entire planet do it, it just becomes common knowledge. You are just constantly having access to all of the information you could ever need to do whatever you need to do.
So are we saying during Egyptian times that a majority of the planet were tapped in, or just that society was tapped in?
The majority of the planet would have had to be tapped in. And we see this with, how many different pyramids were built in the same ways. How many different large-scale things like pyramids are built in alignment to astrological signs and stars and all kinds of things.
All over the world.
The coincidence, and I use that term loosely here, of them all being able to do these same things without any form of communication is damn near impossible. But at that state of a frequency, they would have had communication.
So does that eliminate the whole extraterrestrials helping build a lot of the pyramids that they have built, or no?
Well, also at the same time, if the aliens, we're just going to use the term alien.
Yeah.
If they knew that the people of the Egyptian civilization was at a certain level to where that they could start to perceive these things, that's when they would be like, okay, well now we can go down there and help them. Mm-hmm. And just kind of aid them and give them these new technologies and these new teachings, because now they're able to perceive it and use it in the way that it was originally intended.
Yeah. And we see this with a lot of channelers nowadays who are talking about, open contact and them physically existing among us. Our planet at the time right now is not at a high enough frequency or vibration to perceive them or live among them. We are at a high enough point to be able to communicate with them, though, through frequency, density, dimension, whatever you want to call it. And so in Egypt, when we look at Thoth or Ra or Aragoth, the three of the Egyptian gods who were helping all kinds of civilizations at the time, they were communicating with them through these higher states of consciousness and showing them and teaching them how to use Hermetic laws and natural laws and the Akashic records and everything that they would need to advance to a point that would allow our planet and its consciousness as a whole to grow exponentially.
Now, I just want to go and say that I can't find it, but within Hermeticism, the Kabbalion outlines the different planes of consciousness. And those come down to spiritual planes, the
Physical plane.
well, there's animal plane, there's plant plane, there's mineral plane, there's human plane, which we would be the top because we are conscious on a level that nothing else is. So that's what I was kind of talking about, how we're like the pinnacle, but we're not, because we're just the most advanced consciously on the planet, next to maybe dolphins or some shit.
Which that doesn't mean that we aren't constantly being attempted to be communicated with by other beings like the elementals or fairies or any of these things, because you hear stories of this stuff all over, and even the channelers talk about elementals being able to push through the plasticity of our reality and kind of show themselves in a form that we can understand and perceive and communicate with them about the laws of nature.
But and this is kind of to bring it to the Hollywood, lizard motherfuckers, is
Fucking lizards.
like Onward, for example. If you guys have seen the movie Onward, that's the whole. There's multiple movies about this.
My kid loves that movie.
Onward is just
I
what I
liked
thought
it.
of
It
it
was
first.
pretty
I thought it
good.
was pretty good.
Yeah, it is pretty good.
Shit, go watch Soul. That
Oh,
was
that's a good movie.
metaphysics.
But now, what was I talking about? Onward, about how magic is dying, and people don't believe in magic, even though they are magical creatures. So, how is that fucking possible? Well, that's just, it is intriguing because it's a reflection of us. Inherently, we are magical creatures. We're just forgetting that magic is in the world. So now it's dying because nobody's putting forth, nobody's acknowledging it. And as we got into in the quantum episodes, if you're not perceiving it, it's not existing.
And part of the problem with it is the individualization of it. When we watch things like Harry Potter, it's all about, single wizards kind of working together and whatnot, but their power comes from them. When we look at this stuff, our power is coming from all of us. Magic doesn't exist because not all of us are choosing for it to exist. And we can see this in like miracle healings in churches, where you got, 500 people in a room all praying that this little boy's cancer is cured. And then all of a sudden, this little boy's cancer is cured. They didn't heal him. They changed reality to where he never had it.
Now, this has actually happened to me. So,
You gonna tell the Minotaur story or something?
no, when I went to church camp, okay, I
They
was
prayed,
raised.
They prayed the gay out of you.
Yes,
Pray
yes,
gay right.
I don't love men's anymore.
yes. They all worshipped around my butthole and prayed to it.
Jesus
They bleached
Christ.
it.
Well, no, okay. So, in all seriousness, I was raised Christian. So,
You look like a Christian.
You do a good Christian boy.
He looks like a Catholic. Like
like I said, they were worshiping my asshole, and this is what happened. No, a knee injury that I had when I jumped off the stage. It was a baller ass horse shot, right? In middle school, jumped off the stage, hook shot that bitch, swish. I hyperextended my knee, broke a bunch of discs in my knee. Well, I always had problems with it because it was just a lingering injury. And I went to church camp. It was one of those things. If you got something that we could pray on, go and come up. I was like, I was feeling it, so I was like, fuck it, I'll just go up there and see what happens. What's the worst that's gonna happen? I might, whatever.
Touch me.
Yeah,
Well,
he touched you. Did
everybody-
he touch your knee.
Well, they all put hands on me,
I
right?
bet
Oh,
they
they all
did.
put hand. Oh, I bet they
All
did.
of them.
They're all praying on me.
Yeah.
All right. So, and they're all
Close
talking.
honor
They're all
off.
speaking tongue and all this other shit, right?
Yeah.
So it was just weird for me.
in
Well,
tongue or
and
with
then-
their
Yeah.
tongue?
Next thing you know, I'm laying on the ground and
Naked.
everybody's still.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up, Dave! Jesus. So I'm laying there on the ground after feeling like buzzing and
they
shit.
did bring Jesus
Shut
in?
the fuck up, David. So I'm laying there after feeling like buzzing and shit in my knee. And ever since then, I haven't had any issues with my knee. It was just weird. It's like I passed out and then it was fine.
You passed out.
Yeah, it was weird. I would be able to explain it if you two weren't being dickheads the whole fucking time. Jesus Christ.
Bro, you're telling us that you passed out with a bunch of priests around you touching you and chanting in tongues. What do you think of
Okay,
that ass?
let this be a lesson on how fucking retarded people are. At what point did I say that there were priests there?
Who was touching you?
Who was
At
touching
what?
you?
No. At what point?
Hey,
At what point did
Who
I
was-
say that there was priests?
who was touching you?
No,
Why-
no.
why are you
This is
yelling?
exactly
Who was
this
touching
is
you?
exactly the fucking issue, right? Because when we're talking about shit, especially when it comes to esotericism, people fill in the blanks with their own dog shit, and it ruins the whole fucking thing. So what I'm saying is the whole church group, all the kids, everybody there. It wasn't priests. We're not Catholic.
Who was touching you?
Everybody else in the fucking church.
All right. Continue.
Okay, so they're all praying on me for this one specific thing, this intent. This is
fucking
where
pray.
magic
I'll
comes
fucking
in.
pray on
I'll
you.
pray on you right now.
I'll pray
This
on
is
you.
where the
I've been
intent
praying
comes
on
in.
you since I met you.
Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'm done.
Caleb, Hermeticism. Fuck Justin. Hermeticism.
Well, Hermeticism is part of it. Everybody that was touching him, touching him, they were all tapping into one another's consciousness. They were all hitting a singular frequency and having a singular thought of touching Justin and healing him. And Lord and behold, all of the touching healed him.
All of the
But then they would be like, well, that seems like a pretty good case for you to be a Christian. Well, it's not, because I have a greater understanding
Fuck
of what
no.
actually happened. And that comes from expanding your information, where you get your information from beyond what they're limiting you to.
Even Christianity has Hermetic philosophies in it.
Well,
Every single religion does. So
I actually just had
at
to
some
pull it up.
point, somewhere in their understanding of Christianity and their God, they are understanding a higher understanding. They're just not fully aware of it because it's masked behind a book and this giant figure who lives in the sky who likes to smite us.
Oh, smite me, mighty
Yeah,
smite.
please smite me.
Well, even Christian, people who study Christianity, like doctors and people who have doctorates on Christianity, people who study religion, right? They
Theologists?
Sure. They even believe that Hermes was like Noah and Enoch. He was a third. He was just another incarnation of Noah and Enoch and Noah and so on and so forth. So Christians even admit Hermes was real. Not only was he real, but
A mad influencer.
a mad influencer
Mad.
on Christianity itself. Thank you, David. So even the Hermetic teachings inspired the religion Christianity. We're not talking about Christ himself, because we really don't know if he was real or not. But we know that Hermes, whether he was called Hermes or not, was real, because we have plenty of information that dates back thousands of years
Like
that
I
would
said,
say that he was.
We have how many religions? 4,200 or something along
It's
the
a
lines
lot.
of that in our world. And yeah, almost every single one of them has Hermetic principle in it. And that's why Hermeticism was even founded, to find the one truth behind all of it. This one singular truth that dictates everything.
And this goes back to the algorithm too. Like, this is the algorithm in which all things are based off of. So whether it comes to running a global conspiracy or just your everyday life, these things are at the core to everything. And that's why it's not really a religion either, is because the people who practice it don't look at it as a religion. It's not. Because they believe there's only really one true theology, in a sense, if you're going to use the same terminology. A theology, because it's just this.
Yeah.
So there's no escaping these laws.
It's like their quote on it or whatever it is. The apples fall, we die, people die, we live.
Birds fly.
Everything exists.
Justin was touched.
Yeah. Justin was touched. Everything also does not exist at the exact same time. That's where all of this stems from. So when we look at religions who pray and do miracle healings, they are tapping into a point of existing and not existing at the same time. And in doing so, tap into that higher consciousness.
And cutting foreskins off.
Yeah.
What's that about?
You're the only dude in the room with his foreskin. Why are you talking?
You guys are in a cult.
You remember how that turned out for you,
You're
David?
in a cult. I don't know what to
Okay,
tell you.
first
No,
of all,
for
I'm
sure.
not in a cult. I start a cult, all right?
Yeah, just sign up for a newsletter.
You started a
and you're in.
cult?
No, I mean...
I want to hear about that.
Yeah.
Unless you're gonna follow me, and then yeah.
Now-
I've
Religion.
gathered several groups of people who have followed my babbling. That
That's a
counts.
cult.
Yeah, all right. Then I
Well,
was in a
that
cult.
sounds
religion itself is a cult.
Yeah, it is.
They're all death cults because they all focus on what happens to you after you die.
Blood gods.
Yes.
Here's what happens when you die. Your physical body rots away back into the planet or a box that we put ourselves in for some ungodly
Which I think
reason.
is fucked up. I've been thinking
Stupid.
about that a lot
Let
lately.
me just get eaten by the worms, please.
That's what we're supposed to do.
Anyways, your consciousness can go wherever the hell it wants. You can...
But you do believe that it goes somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, because you can't destroy.
I mean,
energy.
you can literally die and then just be born right back here again if you want to.
So
Or-
reincarnation is more real than...
Incarnation.
It's simultaneous reincarnation because that would imply time is linear.
I
and
mean,
time isn't linear. It's
If we
also
get
vector form.
into like the shit of it, I mean, us sitting here, this is our reality, but there's an infinite amount of versions of us
Yeah.
spread infinitely.
So now, if you die, who's to say that you don't just shift to the next timeline that you didn't die then?
I mean, think about every time
Your
that
consciousness, you consciously are experiencing a timeline that you
Yeah.
didn't die.
think about every single time that you should have died at a moment,
Yeah, we got a few of
but
those.
you didn't. Who's
They
to
all-
say you didn't actually die and you just stepped into the closest parallel reality to
Shifted
it?
into
Well,
a new
that's
reality.
the Mandela effect. That's essentially what the Mandela effect talks about.
So consciousness constantly moves. It cannot be destroyed. It cannot be created. It cannot be given away. It cannot be forced into things. It just is.
At this point, it can't even be defined. So,
No.
Well, I mean, we are defining it. Well, quantum physicists are defining it.
You can't quantify it
Right.
without making everything we know about our reality become completely and totally false.
What's your thoughts on this, David? Kind of quiet over there.
Hey, man. Are we talking about the seventh one here? We're just
No,
talking
I
about
think we're just
Hermeticism?
bullshitting right now. I
Yeah,
mean,
just
we're gonna
kinda
get
going
back
over it all.
into we're gonna get back into Hermeticism and all its applications, but for now, I think we're just bullshitting. Unless you want to talk about gender, then you can do whatever you want, G.
No, I think it's just within all of us. But they follow through with Hermeticism. It's Islam. It's any of those. There's hundreds and hundreds of religions based off of just the Hermetic beliefs. So, and it always goes back to the one, or to God, or the one source. That's what they all in all these religions at the same time seem to go back to. I look at it the same way. I look at all of religions, all spirituality. You have to find it within yourself first. You have to be willing to, okay, maybe I was a shit person. Maybe I did do some shitty things. But hey, I'm trying to be better than I was yesterday.
Like
the
over
way
the
I look at it.
past.
Yeah.
Learn from it.
The understanding happens within. The reflection of it happens outside of us. So what you come to understand within yourself is what is going to be reflected back into your physical reality.
And understanding and acknowledging that that things are not always going to work out the way you want them to. There's things you're never going to know anything about. And there's things that are going to work in your favor, and things are working in your favor without you ever even knowing.
And going with the flow is the most important part of it, because Alan Watts, if you know anything about him, he is a philosopher. He has something called the backwards law theory. The more that you want something, the more of your being that you're putting towards that want, the less likely it is to happen to you. Same goes in the reverse. The more you don't want something to happen, the more likely it is to happen.
Because you're giving your energy to that.
You are powering that belief and that reflection. But going with the flow allows you to simply exist in whatever occurs around you and being able to direct yourself from there. There's no anticipation. There's no anxiety. There's no overthinking it. There's just
Being.
existing.
In the moment, in the now, and allowing yourself to be in the now and enjoy those moments of the now. Because a lot of people end up, okay, I got shit to do tomorrow. I have stuff to do next week. Man, yesterday was kind of shitty. The first thing you do, you wake up in the morning and you're regretting the day already. You're in a tough spot.
It's going to be a bad day.
Don't do that to yourself.
Yeah, it's going to be a bad day.
Allow yourself to take those 30, 45 seconds and be like, man, I am super blessed to even be waking up this morning.
Be happy to be alive. You define your reality. You define what your meaning of life is. Be happy.
Be happy.
So if we all think really hard on this podcast making it to number 1, it could happen.
It could happen.
Yeah, you could
It
manifest
could
it.
happen.
Well, then you come to holding onto that rope as it's pulling away from you. If you're trying to control something that's incontrollable, you're only going to hurt yourself. So for me, the best way for me to do it is just to go with the flow, right? So if you don't have any expectation, because that's the killer of all dreams, is expectation, because you don't see what's good for you in the moment because you expect it to look like something else.
Yes. So, like, we'll take actual manifestation, for instance, with this podcast. If you guys were wanting to, have it take off, I mean, you could put a ridiculous amount of hours into it, do everything possible, and constantly strive to get it up there, and it might not work.
Yeah.
But if you just allow it to exist, say your intent is for it to go somewhere, to take off, let that be your intent, and then let that intent go with no assumption, no expectation, no nothing.
I think the expecting part, that's the hardest, and I think everybody has a hard time with letting that go. I know personally myself. I mean, shit, you expect without even thinking of
because we're visual creatures.
Yeah.
And you can get further into the expecting part of it with things like the majority of our thoughts in our heads aren't ours. Your mind in and of itself is completely silent. Everything else is what you're picking up on. So when you have random thoughts or random doubts or any of these things, they're not actually yours.
You're taking in that energy?
Yes.
Okay.
Your energy, your power is yours. You want to choose to be happy. You want to choose to do a podcast and have it take off. That is your choice. You can't ever give that energy away. You can present the illusion of giving it away, which is what we do with expectation or assumption. We're creating an illusion of what might be instead of accepting what is.
Gotcha.
So I found the Prisca Theologia. Okay, this is what Hermeticists believe in a Prisca Theologia, the doctrine that a single true theology exists, so that this is the true theology, and every other theological doctrine like Christianity or any religion basically is a perversion of the truth. That's essentially what they believe, that it exists in all religions and that it was given by God to man in antiquity in order to demonstrate the truth of the Prisca Theologia doctrine. Christians appropriated the Hermetic teachings for their own purposes. By this account, Hermes Trismegistus was, according to the fathers of the Christian Church, either a contemporary of Moses or the third in a line of men named Hermes, Enoch, Noah, and the Egyptian priest king who is known to us as Hermes Trismegistus.
Isn't there a book of Enoch?
Yes.
That they found in the Dead Sea Scrolls in Israel.
Isn't that the
In
one
the
that
Dead Sea in Israel.
religions don't discuss? Like Christianity and
Well,
Catholicism?
Isn't it one of the books of Christianity that was removed?
Yeah.
I believe
during-
Austin brought it up in one of the first episodes.
There's a
like
lot.
there's like 10 books of the Christian Bible that have been removed and are no longer published. And things like the Book of Enoch are of that nature because it talks about, aliens.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
essentially,
it puts
Enoch,
it in the
what
context of angels, but it's definitely describing aliens, just
he
how they're
gets
talking about it.
taken away for however many years,
Mm-hmm.
and when he comes back, it's been what 300 years
Yeah.
or what is something like that, and reality is completely different.
The old man that Russell Crowe sees in Noah, you know, when he goes to the mountain and he's talking to that old man, that's Enoch. That's who that representation is supposed to be, that old man. People think it's God, but it's not. It's actually Enoch.
I mean, there's all kinds of crazy stuff. You could get into the immortals.
Oh, dude. We can get into all kinds of crazy shit from here. What we got pulled up, Gabe?
I just had the planes of correspondence, what you were talking about earlier.
As
The,
above, so below.
the physical plane, mental plane, and spiritual plane.
Mind, body, spirit.
Right. So it's just, and now people think that, oh, dude, that sounds fucking stupid. Well, Joe Rogan's got a whole bit on how scientists have figured out that plants talk to each other and that they will warn plants of danger ahead of time so that they know when to release their pheromones, whether it be like a taste or a smell to turn off predators. And that plants feel pain. They tell you to talk to your plants and all this other shit. They're alive. Plants are alive.
Anything that holds consciousness can understand you to some degree.
Now, that's just a plane of consciousness. That's
Yeah.
not definitive speaking of consciousness. That's just a plane in which there is consciousness
I don't
interaction
think,
going on.
I don't think vegans believe that. But.
Well, vegans are fucking retarded.
Just eat some fucking meat.
Just eat a fucking elk steak.
With some jalapeno.
But that's all that's talking about. And, you know, that goes back to, because everything has been tying in so far. We're doing these episodes the way we are for a reason. But that just goes to show that science, we're coming back to the old ways. But now it's just the new ways are validating the old ways and showing that, hey, our ancestors were actually fucking right. But so many people get caught up on the vocabulary and it just fucking ruins everything.
Remember that one time in the Dark Ages where they were burning witches when they were actually just burning scientists?
Yeah. Good times.
Good times.
Yeah, alchemy.
Alchemy is one of the
Yo, Neil
Hermetic
Tyson.
principles, basically. So, yeah, them doing alchemy and medicine and all them thing was witchcraft. So they got burned to the stake.
And see, you know, that's what happens when you have a perverted truth in power, which in this case was the Catholic Church, because just like I said, Hermeticists believe that, you know, now when they say God, they're not talking about a divine being, a creator. They're talking about the universe as God, existence as God. And we're all a part of God. We're made up of the same things God is made up of. Stardust. Anyways. What was I talking about?
I don't remember.
I don't fucking remember. Okay, I was talking about the show Dark on Netflix. It's like a Swedish, Northern European show that's
Do
been
they
dubbed
speak
over.
Swedish?
Well, no, it's the one I watched. It was English. It was just dubbed over, right?
All right.
So, but the whole show, in the very beginning, the bad guy has the emerald tablets tattooed on him. It's fucking good. And the whole show is all about time travel and parallel realities and all this other shit. And it's a nuclear power plant that's at the core of this. So this nuclear waste that they were creating was a concentration of this, we'll just call it dark matter, because that's kind of what they're alluding to. But it's waste from the power plant. But it's, in air quotes, dark matter. And therefore, the tunnel, there's a tunnel that had been dug with a door and all these symbols and shit from long ago, because it bounces around in time. The show does. So it shows them actually digging this tunnel, the guys with the emerald tablets tattooed on them. It's fucking, you guys gotta watch that shit,
I'll
bro.
have to check that out.
It's so good.
I just read books.
They were saying that the surviving writings of Hermeticism are known as Corpus Hermetica. And they said that these letters were lost to the Western world after classical times, but survived in the Byzantine libraries.
Yeah.
And that's how you say it. But then it said that in the 15th century, the letters were rediscovered and translated into Latin by the court of Cosimo de Medici.
That's Italian.
Yeah.
That's Rome right there.
Who's the patron of Leonardo da Vinci and several other Renaissance artists. These letters were so influential during the time that they acted as a catalyst in the development of Italian Renaissance thought and culture. And then it said, inspired by this wave of innovation, these timeless principles were resurrected again by the Freemasons and showed up in the teachings of American revolutionaries. Freemasons, man, they always
It's all, dude.
are into something, aren't they?
That's why I'm a strong believer that some of the Nicoles did learn immortality and are the ones keeping it going.
What do you mean?
I mean, if you're immortal, if you know Hermetic philosophy, you can just constantly bring it up over the ages. So why not? I mean, it has to resurface in some way or another, so why not have a being that can just resurface it for you?
You also got to think the Roman Empire ended in the mid 1400s at the same time. So,
Or did it end?
well, it didn't because Rome's still a thing, right? I mean, the Vatican's in Rome.
Fuck the Vatican.
So it was just a consciousness shift is what we saw. It's just like with the ancient Egyptians. People talk about the ancient Egyptians like they don't, like Egypt doesn't fucking exist anymore. Dude, they've got ghettos built almost up to the doorstep of the fucking pyramids.
Yeah.
So my point being is that Egypt is still a thing. Rome is still a thing. Greece is still a thing. So it's just a consciousness shift on what the people of the world were tolerating.
Mm-hmm.
So they use these hermetic principles in order to deceive and therefore conquer. It's just a means to an end. But my point being is that they're using the same algorithm in order to convince all these people to either fight or die, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, you can use Hermetic principle for both good or bad if you want to define those.
And that's all we're doing is just giving you some context to this information.
In a majority of time, it's used for bad.
Yeah.
Well,
Why is that?
well, see, the thing is that the bad guys, we'll just use the lizards as an example. They
Hold the knowledge.
they know all this shit, right? So all they essentially do is just suppress it. Book burnings, the burning of the library in Alexandria. You got to think about how much shit we lost whenever that shit went up in flames of all the ancient information, because that was a culmination of worldly knowledge, was the library in Alexandria.
And the majority
That was
of
Napoleon,
everything
right?
that is found is shoved into the Vatican archives.
Exactly. And they even admit it's a
I mean, they
secret
have
archive. That's
Plato
what they call
and
it.
Galileo's original works. I mean, they have the Dead Sea Scrolls. They have everything in there.
But absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's all we're saying. And when the bad guys have all this knowledge stored up in a library, for example, then they can control how it's distributed. I mean, if we're talking about an empire that's hell bent on suppression and just adding more to its what it owns and what it controls,
Yeah.
then would it be so crazy for people to go door to door and collect books and all this other shit? There's books that we can't even read in school today.
Yeah.
And
School didn't even teach us how to do taxes.
Right.
All
I'm not
they're
even
not
sure
gonna
we're-
they're not gonna let us know Hermetic principle or some shit and actually succeed in life. No.
right. Well, and public schools are also just indoctrination camps for the new Roman Empire. And that's why we have New York, because York was a capital type city for Rome. And that's why New York is also called the Empire State,
Empire.
because that's where the new Roman Empire is headquartered out of. It's not Washington D.C. They're running the country out of New York City.
Yeah, Washington D.C. is just a
It's just a
post
front.
office.
It's
Yeah,
not
it's
even
just front,
part of
bro.
the country.
It's not. It's its own district.
It's a post office.
It's a sovereign district,
Yeah.
and people don't even talk about that.
Yeah. The Federal Reserve isn't even part of our actual country. Like it,
No, it's a
Yeah.
private corporation. It's not a federal institution.
yeah. Like we don't own it. at all, but it dictates our money.
So I don't even know where I was going with all that, but these are the ingredients that are used for everything, including world domination. That's my only point.
Yeah, most of it is used for bad. That's just how that goes.
And the bad people suppress it from the good people. It's just like last week. If they gave us the same knowledge that they had, we would use it to fight against them with it.
Yeah.
And they don't want that. They want obedience and subservience.
Here's another stimmy for you. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Of money that has no basis of actually
What is it?
working.
Who was it in Russia? Was it Mussolini? I don't know. The dude that cut off the chicken or plucked all of its feathers off and it kept following him around because he kept giving it treats.
Stalin.
Yeah. Anyways, his point of how to easily see how to control a nation of people, he takes a chicken and plucks all the feathers off of it, but he keeps feeding it chicken feed, and the chicken just keeps following him around no matter what, as long as he keeps giving it the treats.
Now, if all the chickens are doing it and you have a new chicken, the new chicken will do what all the other chickens are doing just because it's the natural herd. What I'm getting at is the experiments that you see on fucking Facebook and shit,
Personalized ads are a thing
where
for you.
people randomly stand up and the only person who isn't in on it sits down for the first couple times, and then eventually they start standing up and nobody said anything. They are just doing what everybody else is doing. So it was an experiment as far as human psychology goes to be the odd man out, and we don't like to be the odd man out.
No, we like to conform.
Right. We're a herd.
Another good example of this is our tax returns every year. Where your government steals your money straight up. Like, everyone is aware of this. They completely screw us on taxes. But we get that tax return every year.
Oh, yeah.
Keeps you in the same cycle over
Docile.
and over and over.
We take $100 and give you back 20, and
Yeah.
you should thank us for it.
20 is generous. They're giving us like 350.
Yeah.
Treat fitty easy.
350.
No, taxes are fake. Taxation is theft.
I mean, it's all fake. We live inside of a dense dream. That's it.
Well, and that's on one plane. That's one plane of thinking of it. On another plane, on this physical reality plane, me and Gabe have talked about this quite a few times, is that we're all for socialized shit. Socialized healthcare, roads, even though that's the only argument people have against taxes is like, well, who built the roads? It's like, dude,
What about the roads?
The government doesn't build the roads anyways. They hire
Yeah.
a company to build the roads, you fuck. Anyways,
They're friends.
yeah, that's cronyism. But if you just gave out a piece of paper that people just chose what amount that they wanted to donate their money to, like a voluntary tax system is what I'm getting at. So I could give, $10 a month to disability. I could give $10 a month to infrastructure and healthcare. That way, people who can't afford it can actually get help when they need it. That's fine. But if you're gonna do it with a barrel of a gun to my head, then it's not fine.
Yeah. Well, and people tend to think that if we attempted to do it that way, that people just wouldn't voluntarily.
Oh, there would be freeloaders and all this other
Yeah,
shit. There's already freeloaders. You
Yeah,
fuck.
like
You're not gonna get rid of the assholes no matter what you do. So everything you do actually hurts the people that are doing what
And
they're supposed to
people-
help everybody else out.
aren't actually as bad as the media makes them out to be. They're really not. Like, just go talk to somebody, please.
People are just people.
Yeah, people are people. Like, they hate this shit as much as everybody else. All of us do. We're all getting fucked constantly.
Yeah.
Raw dog.
But
Help a brother out.
But I do think are a lot of assholes. Though.
Oh, for sure.
You know.
For sure. But nothing you do is gonna get rid of them.
And one way my girl explained it one time, she's like, go to a Walmart and look how many shopping carts are left in the grass, or
That shit pisses me off.
when the the little cart organizers
cart
literally
Yeah.
10 feet away. And I think that's everybody else's scare of making taxes optional, is that all those assholes are just going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to keep my money.
The shopping cart theory is great because it literally defines human nature.
But now you also got to think about it in a system. If we did have a system where we had voluntary taxes, the government wouldn't look like what it looks like today.
No, we shouldn't have a federal government. The federal government shouldn't exist.
We would have a much freer way.
Why was it created?
As a centralized, all saying, it would have the final say
To monitor all the local
basically,
governments, I guess.
So where all the
dictatorship
governments can come
over
together.
the state government.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because when everything is run by state governments, we actually hold the power. We can actually change.
Theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically, we can actually change what goes on in our communities, where the money goes and all that, because we can
It's a
strong
smaller
fist them
group
into
of
doing
people.
it. I mean, it's just a state government. But when you throw in the federal government on top of it,
Well, we can change that now. It's just that
Well, states are kind of starting to do that. They're starting to
Yeah.
nullify federal law. And
look
that's
at
when-
Texas when they said, we're going to make mass optional. But then it gets fuzzy because then cities like Austin or more maybe liberal cities are like, no, we're going to make it required, which is crazy that politics got involved with science, but whatever.
It's terrifying is what that is.
we'll watch it all crumble as soon as religion actually takes its place into politics, which it is now. It is. They throw government money. They do all of that. But once our government actually starts dictating religious law into its stuff more so than it already does, that's when you will watch the collapse of our government.
Right, because people hold their religious views higher than they do anything else.
Every single great nation that has ever existed for thousands of years all fell for the same reasons.
Well, you can't be a Republican without saying you're a Christian, right?
Fuck off.
I mean,
I feel like every
think there's a-
Republican
Yeah.
rides on that,
I
I
think
thought
there's
they
a,
correlate.
Yeah, it's
at
a
a point.
as a
you
cop,
couldn't.
like everybody on the country is like, America is Christian. No, America isn't actually Christian. That's it's a nation.
what
It's
they
not a Christian
did-
nation. It's
Well, we
just a
came here
nation.
to escape religious persecution, correct?
Well, no, it was a tyrannical government, which is ironic because I think it was Thomas Jefferson said within a span of 10 years, we had more laws and taxes imposed on us than the crown was imposing on us.
Yep.
Within 10 years. So what is that? That was always the plan, is what I'm saying. And the oldest companies here in the United States are British owned
Yep.
by Parliament and the Crown. So
And
the more
Parliament
you
and the crown
dig,
is owned by the Rothschilds.
well, yeah,
getting into
through
that?
one way.
Did
or
you guys hear
another.
that bullshit that Prince Harry or whatever Prince, I can't remember which one it was, one of the brothers, he was like, I don't really agree with the First Amendment. It's like, no shit.
Well, no,
Over there,
my
they're
old
arresting
lady
people
just
for tweets and shit.
my old lady just showed me another article about Prince Harry, and the one that married Meghan Markle and moved over here.
Yeah.
And there's all the memes about him that are fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
They're good.
I guess he came out and publicly said that the Queen was
Had
responsible
something to
for
do.
what happened to his mom, which is Princess Diana. And he's come. That was on the.
Oh, we know that.
That was on the cover of People magazine too. So that's just okay. Well, what's up with what's up with the Hidden King?
You can get into a
All
lot
the
of-
seals on the royal palace, whatever the fuck you call those, whatever you call it, they're still covered up, and that's been a year and a half at least. So what we're getting at is there's some funny business going on
Well, yeah,
In the castle?
in the castle.
the Rothschilds own the breeding rights to
Yeah.
everything over there.
So
Because they were poor.
They
They were
choose
broke.
who's in power, who gets born, who
The crown was
relevant.
broke.
Joseph Gregory Hallett is who we're talking about
Yeah.
when it comes to the Hidden King. And now this guy is basically saying that he's the rightful heir to the
Of
throne.
Jesus Christ.
Well,
He's
now
the great great nephew of Jesus Christ.
now he says that Jesus isn't a name; it's a title that is bestowed upon you
Christ is.
by people. So essentially, it's the people around you are electing you to be their leader. That's all that Jesus in the old terms meant.
Yeah, and if you look at it in terms of consciousness, a lot of people refer to the third level of consciousness as a Christ consciousness, a state of pure enlightenment.
It's all just terms, people. That's what we're beating into your head. Is that none of this
Definitions
shit?
and terms.
It's not concrete. We're just fucking monkeys making noises with our mouths.
Reality isn't actually concrete at all. There is no physicalness to it.
Just representations,
All right.
reflections.
Want to take a break? Let this puppy out real quick and gather our thoughts. So we kind of got a little sidetracked there, but the only point to this episode is to expose you to Hermeticism, because it's a very integral part to not only how we operate as humans in today's world, but how humans have operated throughout time. Because this has always been the underlying understanding, and David and I were just talking about this while we were on break, is that it's always been in the domain of human knowledge, right? As before, when we're talking about the times of Hermes and, Socrates and Plato and all these great philosophers that we still quote today, this was the reigning belief system per se. Now, when that changed is when the rulers at the time started concentrating this knowledge and keeping it and hoarding it for themselves. And therefore it came out of the public sector and went into a more private sector, which would be the ruling class.
Secret societies.
Yeah.
Now, this has persisted in the public sector with the common people through people like the three initiates who wrote the Kabbalion. And it's just been passed down by word of mouth. The lips of wisdom are sealed except for to the ears of understanding. And the initiates, example me, I've wasted my time casting pearls before swine, which is another rule or it's not really a rule, it's just something that they talk about in the Kabbalion, that you don't cast pearls before swine, meaning that, a pig isn't going to know what to do with pearls. It's probably just going to eat it and shit it out. And it's not going to be nothing to them. As opposed to you casting pearls to somebody who appreciates it, the information, and therefore you could build upon it, and they integrate that into their own belief structure, and you can see them grow. So like us now, you listening to us, we could either be casting pearls before swine if you think we're full of shit. We're not really calling you swine, but that's just the terminology that the Kabbalion uses to try to put a label on somebody who isn't ready for the truth, because this is what we're talking about, is objective truths. Now, everything else is going to build upon these initial episode drops, so it's not going to be a snooze fest the whole time like these have been, but you're at least going to have a better understanding of what we're talking about when we bring these things up,
Or at least where we're coming from with it.
or where we're coming from when we start exposing these conspiracies and start talking about all this crazy shit.
I remember when the first moment I had a second thought about religion was my mom telling me that there was multiple religions. But what do you mean?
They're all right though, right?
What do you mean? So we have one God? There's many gods? What do you mean there was other gods?
Who's right?
That was my first moment where I was like, okay, either there is a one is all, or we are all one, or nothing at all.
Right. I mean, none of that shit made sense for me until I started putting it into the context of if I had to say I had a God, it would just be the universe.
Right. Or the sun, at least.
Well, that's the basis of a lot of religions, is sun worship too. Like Christianity, they got a lot of sun symbolism.
I mean, we are God. Every single one of us is God. You can choose to externalize it as something else, but at
You're
the end
giving
of the
your
day,
energy away too.
yeah, at
if
the
you
end
do
of the
that.
day, you are God, or source, or the all, or whatever definition you would like to give it. You are it. Stop acting like you're not.
Within all truths, there's a half lie, and within all lies, there are half truths. So that's another law that is used against us. All it really is just using this shit against us. Like I said, they're not going to give us they're not going to give us weapons to defeat them with.
Of course not.
So that's where we're coming from, is that when you start to understand, you start to break that conditioning and you start to take that purple pill and start seeing reality for how it really is inside and out.
You lose your mind and think you're having a schizophrenic episode for a minute.
Allowing
For sure.
objective
For sure.
truths to be objective truths. There is laws of nature, and that's if you can manipulate or work around those laws of nature, you can create the reality you want.
Right. And like before, when we were talking about, you know, apples fall and birds fly and all this shit happens, it really what Hermes had set in place was a system for us to just be.
Just exist.
Now, going with the flow of the universe is going to be far more painful, far less painful, far less chaotic, far less depressing than what we see today, because every aspect of our lives is controlled. That goes back to the holding on to the rope thing I just said to Gabe earlier, is that the rope's, it's falling. You're just hurting yourself hanging on to that rope because it's going to end up in the same spot anyways.
Might as well not let it drag you down.
Might as well, you know, fire up a joint and watch it fall. Because
Control-
that's all you can really do. So unless you want to fucking destroy yourself in the process, your best bet is to just let go. Decentralized command. And this is what we're all fucking... This is what Jocko preaches, is decentralized command. The people know what needs to be done. And the more you micromanage them and the more you impose your authority on them, the less likely they are to do what you want them to do, because that's when politics gets involved.
Yeah, there's some places we know that need to learn that.
Where we work, for example, I'll call them out. I hope they're fucking listening, because it's getting really tiring. And, you know, nobody wants to show up to work and be treated like a dog or a slave.
Well, their argument is that the more freedom you give, the more money you give, the more lazy your employees are. And I've never been a big supporter of that, because I feel like lazy is lazy. You
Right,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's just the people you're hiring, and if you see that don't protect those people, get them out.
Right.
Or,
See,
you know,
this
or
is what
teach
Gary
them.
V. This is what Gary V. talks about, is that you can't have your ego tied up in the hiring process, because that's what we see where we work, is that they don't want to fucking fire anybody.
Yep.
So you need to, if you're worried about lazy people, then you just have lazy people that work for you.
Yeah.
And you need to fire them and replace them with somebody who works the way you want them to do on their own. Because our job, we used to be able to, we were managing our own time. We were running our own parts. We were doing everything that we needed to do. That's how my job was before this one. So I'm used to just being hermetically sealed in my work and doing what I needed to do, just to A, stay busy to make it through a 10-hour day, and to B, keep my fucking job another day. Now, the more shit you do, a guy just got fired last week for picking fights with people. He literally had to put his hands on people after 2 years of everybody seeing this writings on the wall. They didn't fire him, and now it culminated him putting his hands on people, and now that's what got him fired.
He could have gotten another person fired as well.
He could have
for
got
no reason.
He could have got a couple more people fired
Yeah.
who weren't instigating the situation, and he was just overly aggressive old fuck.
Yeah.
So, did I just? Okay, all right.
All right. Hermeticism.
Tangent.
Wrap this up,
But
Justin.
now, if you just let the people be, now you're not going to get rid of the assholes. We already covered this. But what you can do is you're not limiting the repercussions of being one of those assholes either. So what we have in place is we have systems set in place that protect the assholes.
Yep.
And that's what's got to stop too. Because people take advantage of the welfare system as it is.
Or
We
you're
all
just,
know those.
you're
motherfuckers.
creating people that don't have drive anymore, you know, because
Right.
they know it's not going to get them anywhere.
Right.
You know?
But also, isn't that because of what's there to drive for?
Yeah, when you're just a number.
When I'm just a number.
When
if
good
I'm not
work-
on Instagram, I'm not I don't have a huge following type of thing.
Yeah.
That's what people turn towards now.
Well, when good work isn't rewarded and bad work isn't punished, then there's no motivation.
Yeah.
And that this is the problem with not just our jobs.
Because they expect.
Right.
Ah.
Right.
That's purple pill for you.
There is something going on in that big ass head.
Shit.
Like
Full
the
circle.
X-Files song. She went,
But now, this is the issue within society and not just in workplaces too, is because the government's controlling every aspect of our lives, and therefore it's turning us all off because it's going against our natural way.
And doesn't religion too tell you just to let God live your life, like
Right.
to let him, he will guide you
Let Jesus
and
take the wheel.
protect you, but that would be counterproductive, right? Because with you not believing in yourself and actually trying to make that change mentally, you're not going to make any
what they mean
change.
in
You
the
aren't
Bible.
making the moves, and they're
Yeah.
hitting you on multiple fronts because you're not making any moves. You're becoming stagnant.
But people
And-
believe that if they let God fucking take the wheel,
But it
So,
also says
everything
that
will work out. So
you let God take the wheel, but if you're not putting the work in
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
God, and then you're going nowhere with it.
but see, some people don't think that.
But it's expectation. It comes back
So
to expectation.
it's like
they expect God to.
Right.
do it
to-
all
And
for
you're
them.
giving
Yeah.
you're giving your energy away to an external
Yeah,
thing.
you are creating
Yeah.
an illusion of giving your power away, and therefore you have this expectation of what that power is going to do. And in that, you are now vulnerable to anything and everything around you.
And
But then
you-
again, it's just like what you said too. Don't expect, sit back, smoke a joint, and just let it happen.
Right.
That's kind of what they're doing, right? With God, they're sitting back, not necessarily smoking a
In a
joint,
way.
but they're letting
Yes
letting
and
life
no.
be life.
Yes,
but at
and
the same
no.
time, you have to put that work in.
Yeah,
Because if
So
you're
it's
not,
like-
it's
Well, if you don't know what you're working with, if you buy a fucking bed frame from IKEA and you think you're assembling counters
Oh, good luck.
and cabinets, you're probably not going to make a very good bed frame.
Nah, dude. Even at IKEA, you could have the instructions right in front of you.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
a whole different
still
world.
They're
fucking
still not
pain
trying
in
to
the
put
ass.
together my desk.
They're gonna
No.
give you. They're not gonna give you all the hardware anyway. So
No,
Yeah.
they don't.
Christianity's like IKEA.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, like with the giving away your power to like God and Christianity, it's how you use it. Like what David says with putting in the work. I mean, I see too many Christians that are like, "Well, I just let God do what He wants and blah blah blah," but they're over here, like denying gay people rights and like hating on minorities and doing all this
Eating
messed up
Xanax,
stuff. Like
Eating Xanax like it's fucking
that-
Skittles.
that is a negative
Popping.
form of giving that power away or that illusion away, opposed to Justin just sitting back, smoking a joint and just letting it happen.
But now-
that is more of a positive way of letting it work through you.
You also have to consider the origins of these other religions too, because if they're all Saturn-esque at its core, that's why you have all the You see all the negative shit. Religion exposes a lot of negative in people. And that's because the origin of the religion is negative inherently. So, how good, objectively speaking, could you be if your entire belief structure is based upon a negative entity to begin with?
God
People, there
likes
are good people.
just
He floods the world and kills millions.
including infants.
Now,
just got to
Sorry, I
including
just
throw that in.
infants.
Yeah, I had to drive
But
it
now
home.
we were talking about us blowing up the Middle East and killing children almost
So-
on a daily basis
So our government has now become a religion.
in the name of God. Now, if this is a Christian nation and that's what we're doing in the name of God, what does that say about our fucking God? That's our point.
Well, they try to say that they don't want it to be like that, but war is messy. War is
Yeah, it's messy when all you do is spend billions of dollars picking wars with motherfuckers for no
who
reason.
have no chance against you.
We're killing people with $1 million bombs out of multi-million-dollar aircraft that they're operating out of a $100 tent.
Yep.
Yeah.
And all this shit is being controlled by people who make $50,000 a year, if that.
Yeah.
pretty much.
So it's not about patriotism. What we see as patriotism is manufactured obedience.
Nationalism, statism.
Yeah. Caleb, are you out of here?
Yep, I got to head
All
out,
right,
guys.
Caleb's getting out of here.
I want to thank you, Caleb, for
appreciate
coming
you.
in again, filling
We
in for
appreciate you,
Austin.
brother.
Thank you for having me on.
No
It was
problemo.
fun.
Until next time, we're going to have Caleb back on probably once we get out of this initial drop series. And then we'll be able to expand and talk about all kinds of other shit once we get through this. We just got to get through it, people. Just hang in there with us. See what we're saying. You know, you don't have to agree with us, but at least acknowledge what we're saying, how we're saying it.
We're not ending it, right?
No.
Just
All right, Caleb. I'll
just
see you
think
later,
about it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Just something
Just
to think about.
about it.
All right.
Bob,
Later, guys.
my guy.
Love you all.
Love
Yes,
you.
sir.
Take care, though.
Will do.
Click that guy off there. Yep.
This is the first time we've had to do this. So, to bring this back around to Hermeticism, all we're doing with this series is, first it was magic, and we were explaining the old lingo, right? It's just different definitions and vocabulary for explaining the same thing. Then we went to quantum, and now which is the new way. And now we're back to the original way in which quantum and the nature of reality was first expressed,
And understanding of it.
and an understanding that the average person can grasp is actually, 2,500 years old as we know it today. So that's the only point. Now we're exposing you to Hermeticism. I really recommend you read the Kabbalion. It's not a very long book, but it will change your life because it gives you the necessary ingredients to make that change yourself.
They have an audio version on YouTube. I think it's like 5 hours long.
Yeah, for
Or
free.
10. One of the two.
For free.
Big gap.
Big gap, actually.
Yeah, I mean, even me right now listening to all this shit, because I don't even know that much about Hermeticism. I honestly only started listening to it this week, but I mean, I don't know, man. I don't even know how to explain
Now,
it. I mean,
you have the perspective of the listener.
We can't
A
say all
novice,
the listeners.
a novice.
Yeah, but basically people who are just getting into it right
Right.
now that are listening. And yeah, for
Now,
sure.
what do you have question wise, or what are you thinking, bud?
No, I think you answered all my questions. I mean, just like Caleb told me, outside, like he's even been into this for years and years and years, and still to this day, boggles his mind, some of the stuff he learns. And
Yeah, dude.
I think that's just what it takes, time and effort into learning
An
this stuff.
application.
Yeah.
Having things come up to where you can apply this, to it.
In your
Yeah.
daily life.
And
But I
then-
do see the correlation with everything. I do see
Right.
that. Yeah.
Which is strange.
Yeah.
Regardless of
it's
what
it's
you
spooky
think,
shit, bro.
it's strange that
Yeah.
all these things correlate back to a certain representation of a one, or a certain representation of all good or all being.
Or if we're talking about quantum physics, it's a representation of a 1 and a 0.
Back to it.
But now, also with quantum, it's all happening at the same time, and that's all we're talking about. So now a lot of people are going to be super hypercritical because that's how they are, and they're going to pick apart everything we've said. Now we're just talking.
I mean, they can. I mean, PM us if you have questions. Or
Right.
Fucking email us. I mean,
We're going to address it on the show, and
this show is your show. The listener show as well. And
we want to know what you guys fucking think. And especially if you are having a hard time understanding what we meant by something, that would be the perfect opportunity to further elaborate and therefore teach everybody, even ourselves.
yeah, and I think I can say pretty much, that all four of us, even Caleb and Austin, we're open to being wrong on
Fuck
some
yeah, we're
things.
wrong all the time.
Yeah, and we're opening to learning other people's point of views, or what they have to bring. So we're not people to shut off and just not take into consideration what you guys think.
And a big thing that got us to this point in our lives, intellectually speaking, is being able to admit that we were wrong.
Yeah, that pride, letting go of that pride. I mean, that's kind of what's happening in today's society, is that people have a hard time admitting that they're wrong. that
people have an inflated
Or they
ego
don't-
for no reason at all.
or when they come across something they don't understand, they tend to be standoffish with it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, it's
Naturally
with everything,
afraid.
with race, with culture, with religion,
Mm-hmm.
with
Afraid of the things you don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you don't understand something, there's no reason to fear information itself, because information itself is just, it's not good or bad.
Right. Knowledge without intent is just
Now,
bullshit.
if you decide to do something good with that information, then that develops
Yeah.
into something good, obviously. But if you decide to use that information for something bad, then that's what we see when it comes to, we're talking about the Illuminati and the Freemasonry, and when it comes down to Hermeticism and magic and all this other shit, is because they've made you think that the information is bad, because everywhere you see it, everywhere they show you it, is bad.
The representation is
They
bad.
never show you the good side.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Same way the media is doing right now.
Exactly.
Manipulation.
it's the same algorithm, bro.
I've always preached that knowledge is power, and communication definitely goes a long way,
Dude, for sure.
between people.
And, people,
and I
need
see
to
a
have
lack
open
of
dialogue.
both in everything I do.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that be through scrolling through Facebook or whatever.
Anything, anything in life. I mean, from work to your hobbies to your relationships to,
I think people need to look at social
friendships.
medias more as the town square.
Yeah.
You have to engage. You have to talk about these things.
Well, it's getting harder and harder with technology, because now everybody's just texting each other. And
But
messaging,
also at the
you know.
same time, it's a lot easier because you have mass communication now.
True.
Which
Yeah,
is
okay.
easier.
Yeah, I can see that.
But the fact that they can contain you in a bubble, that's where the issue is.
Yeah.
That's where the issue lies in all the social medias, is you get stuck in this bubble where you're not getting any other ideas or any other thoughts coming in, and only expressions are the ones that you've already previously exposed yourself to.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times from the analytical data, it's mostly bad stuff. It's people are naturally gravitated to the bad things.
Why is that?
I think it has something to do with years and years of the primal hunter and gatherer type of mentality.
Okay.
Thousands of years of
Well, it's fight or flight at the same time, I think is what you're getting at, right?
that's what I'm getting at.
It's just a smaller expression of your fight or flight, which comes from our reptilian brain, is what scientists actually call it. So now, kind of going off of what you guys were saying, we should be able to discuss anything openly. Now, if your idea requires violence to support it or to enforce it, then it's a bad fucking idea.
It's not a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, like for instance, mass mandates when they had them, and you
Right.
could be subject to tickets and fines and
Yeah.
court dates and all that. Yeah.
And if you resist tickets, fines, and court dates, they can kill you.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And it's
that
happened.
whole
It happens
seatbelt.
all the fucking time, right? The whole seatbelt thing we were talking about last week, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, what was it that you asked me earlier? You said you wanted to talk about something. I forgot to write it down.
so I mean, are you guys good on Hermeticism?
Yeah.
I mean, are we ready to get into? Because we actually have some other shit that we wanted to talk about this week, just because it's come out in the main. But
No, we're good. And how our shows are structured, it's all over the place.
Dude,
it's always going to be like that. It's supposed to be raw conversation, and Hermeticism will get brought up
fuck
again.
yeah, because it's a part of everything.
Especially once
else.
we drop all these episodes and you guys start listening, you guys start, sending us in
Interacting.
questions and letting us know what, how you guys feel,
So yeah, the first thing now, dude, shit is getting fucking wild. I can't. Oh god, I just hit something.
Talking
Okay.
about those mask mandates, wasn't France doing a mandatory?
I think I saw
passing a
something like
law
that.
about that.
I think I
About
saw
what?
something like
About mask mandates. There are mandatory mask mandates and vaccine mandates.
I don't even know anymore. I feel like everywhere I go, it's something different, even in our own city. I mean, I don't know.
People walk into places that say you have to have a mask on, and the people behind the counter aren't wearing a mask.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. I remember I walked into Aldi's and I asked them, I asked the lady that was working there, I said, hey, is there a mask mandate here? You know, I'll wear one if your company chooses, you know, wants me to. I have no problem with that. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to be one of these assholes like, fuck you. I'm not going to, no, I just, if I really feel offended by it, I just won't shop there.
Right.
You know, but to me, I don't give a fuck. I think it's stupid, but it's your business. You can run it any way you want, you know.
America.
What I hated is the government intervention when they were mandating businesses, and if they wouldn't, they were putting them out of business. They were fining them. I mean, just bullshit.
As you were saying earlier, allowing politics to
Be involved in science.
involved in science.
Yeah. And she told me, she was like, I don't even know. She's like, I'm not going to say anything. So she's like, we wear them, but nobody really knows right now.
Which is scary too, right? Because
But this was a couple weeks ago, and now I think it's gotten a little more clear because, I mean, Quick Trip's not doing them. You know, there's a bunch of places, I think.
Pretty much everywhere.
Everywhere.
The only place I've had to wear a mask the last couple of weeks was at
Hy-Vee's not.
at the pediatrician when I took the baby over there.
Yeah.
That's the only place, which I understand. At like a doctor's office or anywhere.
Yeah, but
where
then
you can
again, I
expose-
don't, because how much do those masks protect? I mean, haven't we seen many studies that basically it's just keeping
Now,
spit from flying on you?
Check this out. I was just looking up because we were talking about the caduceus or the caduceus or whatever, however you pronounce the staff of Hermes, right? Well, people are like, oh, well, that's a medical symbol. Well, it's not, because the actual medical symbol is a rod of Asclepius, which is only half of that. It's
Okay.
only one snake. Now, this could be expressed as a half truth. Getting back to Hermeticism, tying this back in. So, with that half truth, that's how come we see have all this conflicting. Oh my God! Because we're not ever being told the truth.
Yeah, that even in the medical field, the doctors that were opposed to
Look at Fauci. Fuck Fauci. You
Yeah.
lying cocksucker. You go from no mask to two masks to now it's, oh, you got a vaccine, so now you still have to wear a mask. Oh, well, now it's you don't have to wear a mask if you've been vaccinated. And now it's, oh, now it comes back to where we started. Now they're fucking admitting, after investigating, that the coronavirus came from the
Man-made.
Wuhan Institute of Technology. I had motherfuckers wanting to fight me for saying this shit whenever it first popped
Oh,
off.
you had Facebook fucking shadow banning people and
dude.
Yeah, they were fucking with you.
Not
a
even
lot, I
shadow
remember.
banning.
No,
like
I got
literal banning.
I got shadow banned right, but I couldn't really do anything on Facebook for like 3 weeks before the election. A couple days after the election was over, I was free to do whatever the fuck.
Why
I want.
is Facebook-
And they never told me anything.
Why is Facebook even bothering with stopping that from happening? What are they concerned about if it does happen to be incorrect information? I don't understand. If it's a social media platform that's letting people express themselves in any way
not.
they choose,
It's not. It's a
then
social-
what the
it's for social so it's a social engineering apparatus is basically what it is. Okay, so they determine what, just like YouTube, well, Google, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, or Tinder, or Twitter, whatever,
Grindr.
whichever one of those T's. They're all focused on
Getting you to engage.
seeing you, having you see certain things.
optics?
Optics.
Yeah.
Yes, we talked about this last week, I think.
Yeah.
And it's how you see things.
Or what they want you to see.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
But now, if they know, based off of the recordings they have of you talking, because they have access to every aspect of your phone,
Yeah.
what you like, what you don't like, what music you listen to, what food you like, all this other shit, then that's how they polarize you. And that's why shit like QAnon blows up, because they took some dog shit that some fucking nerd was just bullshitting about on 8chan, and they blew it up into this whole thing. Now, they could have stopped it a lot sooner, and they didn't. Now, why is that? Because they wanted people to listen to it, and they're going to polarize them. Therefore, if they're saying all this shit that these people are obviously going to disagree with, then they're just going to clash. Now, that's just polarization on another front. That's just them being divisive and fighting each other on another front. So not only do we have QAnon and non-QAnon, We got Democrat and Republican. We got liberal and libertarian. We got Christian versus Muslim. We got Christian versus atheist. We got all these different people just fighting each other for no fucking reason. Everybody should have been like, oh, well, if you can prove to me indefinitely, like us, if you have solid proof of something, then I will believe it because I know I can admit I was wrong. Or if I know I don't have enough information on something, then I really can't say. But people can't even fucking admit that today.
I feel that's what they want, right?
Exactly.
Keep us fighting.
Exactly. Because as long as you control the half-truth, this where Hermeticism comes back in. As long as you can control the half-truth, then you can do whatever the fuck you want with it. You can make people believe whatever you want. As long as there's a piece of truth in there that it touches people somewhere on the inside. Like I got touched at church camp, apparently. They healed my knee through my butthole. But yeah, that's all I was just wanting to say about that.
So the half truth, you're saying that even in the medical field, there's a half truth. There's a divide. I mean, which we've seen, right? We've seen doctors getting
doctors and nurses
silenced.
Fuck yeah,
completely.
Because of what they believed in, didn't go with what these other doctors believed in.
But and then that's where in air quotes mainstream science comes in.
Yeah,
is because they're only operating on a half truth. So if you, how do I want to explain this? If you come out and spoke out against Fauci and you were a doctor, you would have been called a quack.
yeah,
right?
Or Trump supporter.
Or you don't believe in
They'll
science.
put you in that fucking bubble.
You don't believe in science. You're a fucking idiot. All this other dog shit. Even though it's like, okay, well, how big is a coronavirus molecule or virus? Like, how big is it? And then they measure shit like that in microns. Okay, well, what size micron particles do masks filter out? And it's like me farting in your face and you still being able to smell it.
And you with your mouth open.
Yeah. If I fart in your face and you're wearing a mask, you're still going to be able to smell my fart. Why? Because the fart particles are smaller than what the mask filters out. And bacteria and viruses are even smaller than shit particles.
Yep.
It doesn't make any fucking sense. And even the masks that do work, as soon as they become saturated with your breath, your hot breath, and it gets wet, damp even, then that's something for the virus to travel through the mask.
Yeah, and how many people are really changing out their mask every 8 hours?
Dude, I was wearing the same mask to the gym for months.
Yeah.
I just kept it in my
Nasty
gym bag.
Hey, and not to mention too,
I never got coronavirus.
for what you know, you don't know if you
Yeah.
Well, I would have to go get blood tests to see if I had the antibodies.
just like I don't know if I even really got it because we already know those tests are faulty as is.
right. And then if you start pointing out the discrepancies in information, when you start pointing out
It was made in a Wuhan lab.
false positives, when you
Hey, and
filter
just
out,
so you don't think we're fucking crazy, Facebook just admitted that, so it's gotta be
actually,
true now.
I was looking it
It's
up.
gotta be true now. It's on FB.
I was just Googling this shit before we started recording today, and every news source is talking about it.
Yeah. Oh, and get this too. Now that we dealt with the whole mask thing, now next year it's going to be like masks are all in the oceans. What are we going to do? How are we going to keep them out of the ocean? You
I
know
didn't
that.
even think of that.
Yeah,
but
dude. I mean, think
yeah,
about how
that's-
many fucking masks.
Yep.
I see them on the sides of the fucking road.
yeah.
I mean, I see them everywhere, every fucking way.
I didn't
But
think
see,
about
but see
that.
now the main people who were bitching about loving your neighbor and
The
wearing a
fucking-
mask to protect
yeah.
your dead grandma or some shit like that.
Now the sea
Who
turtles
are all
fucked.
who are all this so empathetic and
Hugging their
compassionate.
grandmas with trash
and
bags on.
They're all driving Teslas because they love the environment. How many fucking sea turtles have died choking on your bullshit mask, and you don't give a shit? Well, no, you will give a shit just when it's too late.
When it becomes a trend
because,
on Facebook.
because hindsight's
When it
always
becomes a
2020.
trend.
Don't
Now,
use a
speaking
straw.
of this,
Yeah.
speaking of this, last week
Instead
we
of
were
holding
talking shit.
companies accountable for where that trash goes.
Right.
Yeah.
We were bitching about Save Our Children last week. # Save Our Children.
Yeah.
Now, we've already made it clear that we're fucking extremely anti-lizard pedophile. Even regular pedophiles.
Should
We
all
don't
be
even like them.
blood-eagled.
Yes. But now, when we were talking about it years ago, about human trafficking, child sex trafficking, how the elites are doing it, we were called quacks and we were ostracized. We basically committed social suicide on a certain level because children's a touchy subject. But in order for you to realize that there's a problem, you got to acknowledge it first. And people weren't even wanting to acknowledge it. So now, whenever Save Our Children was going on, everybody was talking about it. This was right before coronavirus, by the way. I just want to remind you, right before coronavirus, right before the election, everybody, there was the buzz thing.
There was
trending.
multiple hashtags Save the Children's.
What
Like there were
pisses
certain
me
ways
off-
you should use it, certain
Right.
ways you shouldn't.
What pissed us off is that we were getting kicked in the nuts for years for talking about the same shit. But now all of a sudden it's trending on social media, and now all of a sudden everybody gives a fuck about child sex trafficking. But now that it's not trending anymore, when's the last time you motherfuckers saw Save Our Children hashtag?
Nope.
Nope, it died
You
out.
motherfuckers only care about it when it's trending. You're fucking you're in the shit. You're enslaved to the shit right now.
Yep, by following blindly along with whatever trend that comes up.
Right.
and
So
not having
next
an
time
actual
you
thought
want
of
to
yourself.
next time you want to run your mouth to somebody for being a conspiracy theorist, you need to do your fucking homework.
But that's
Because I can't even tell you how many friends I've lost. How many friends have called me on the phone, yelling and cussing at me, threatening to beat my ass, which we both know you ain't going to. But my point being is we've lost a lot of fucking friends for speaking the truth, just for it to come out in the public however many years later, and then nobody wants to say anything because they knew they were fucking wrong.
And how many of those conspiracies do that?
Every single one of them.
Where it's like people will talk about it on the low key.
I'm not going to say every single one of them because there are some dumbass conspiracy
is.
theories out there.
oh, for sure.
But we're not really conspiracy theorists. We just we just go where the truth is.
And most of the time, it is within a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. You know, it's just like, oh, well, okay, we were wrong. 20 people didn't die, and it wasn't in 1976. Only 18 people died, and it was 1974.
I'm
My bad.
surprised-
I got some of the deets messed
I'm
up. That's
surprised
my bad.
Facebook actually admitted to that because usually it takes them 50 years to 60
Yeah.
years to admit that, oh shit, yeah, actually MK Ultra did happen.
But see, now they've been doing it the whole time. It's just now that so many people are privy to what they're fucking doing, they got a microscope on them. So anything that they do is going to get caught.
yeah.
Now, I'm basically what I'm saying is like maybe 5 or 6 years ago or more, they would have released that quietly, and it wouldn't have been picked up on until months later. But now that they got a microscope on them, boom! As soon as it happens, they're getting blasted for it.
And at the same time, they're using that to, like, for tomorrow example, UFOs, they're going to come out and say Project Bluebeam and all that stuff. They're going to use that information.
Is that tomorrow?
I believe that's tomorrow.
Dude, that's gonna be
They're supposed to come
fucking
out with-
crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey.
Another one for the conspiracy theorists.
That whole TikTok or Tic Tac UFO and all that.
Yeah.
It's fucking wild, man.
Okay, now we're talking about fucking UFOs and shit. I want to bring this up. This is the Venera.
Hey, and nobody is going to pay attention to this tomorrow.
Nobody.
Nobody.
Just
Hey,
like
but
the last
you-
couple of releases of information in that, which is weird that they release it in a stimulus package.
Yeah.
Like that whole 5,000
It's
page.
so fucking goofy, bro.
Yeah.
It's now
Let's
why,
release it in that.
Now, why do they do that? Because they want to secretly release the truth.
Yeah.
They don't want
we're giving you guys
knowing.
we're giving you guys $2,000 and there's UFOs.
Yeah,
And
just forget that we've been lying to you and making fun of you and attacking you for decades about the same shit. But now that it meets our plan, then it's okay. But we're never gonna admit that we were wrong or that you were right.
Right. And because it'll always be a half truth. That's why it's like, oh yeah, UFOs and stuff.
It's just a weather balloon.
But what direction are we going to go with these UFOs? Is it going to be in a good way or in a bad way? Are aliens going to be interdimensional demons, or are they going to be your spirit guide? That is,
We're probably just a fucking zoo they come and visit to see how fucking retarded we are.
hey,
Butt fuckers, right? Maybe,
I mean-
hey, dude, that's what maybe touched me in church camp. Maybe
Probably.
I was getting probed by aliens.
Harvesting.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I want to talk about since we were just talking about aliens and shit and disclosure. I mean, we've already had disclosure. The government's already admitted that those Navy videos were legit. That they were legit
Commander
UFOs.
Fravor and all that.
Yes, sir. Now, Russia.
Always Russia.
It's always fucking Russia.
Always trying to rush him.
Actually, this is Russia started the vaccinations, by the way, with
The
no
numbers,
human
Mason.
trials. So Russia was giving their people the vaccinations before we were. They
True swine.
yeah. So, anyways, Russia has come out and basically admitted that through the early '60s, they've been sending unmanned spacecraft to Venus. I talked to you about this.
Yeah,
Did
yeah,
I talk to
you
you
talked
guys about this? Okay, so they've been fucking. So the whole space race was a fucking lie. Because though what they were building their spaceships for, on the surface, they were telling everybody it was the space race to go to the moon to try to beat the America to the moon. They knew, like, bitch, we've already been to Venus. In 1961,
In 61, we didn't go to the moon until 69.
allegedly.
Elect.
And that doesn't include if you're talking about Kubrick and all that other shit. Because we arguably didn't even go to the moon until like 70.
Yeah, because wasn't
Late
it said
69,
that
70.
the footage that was shown to us was actually done in a practice,
Well,
just like a studio?
a Space Odyssey. They already had the studio set up.
Yeah.
And they weren't ready for manned flights yet. They weren't ready. And they even tell you that they couldn't get past the Van
Van
Allen radiation belt. So all the footage would have been trash anyways. We're talking about the 60s.
and that was
here.
their reason to use the video from the studio.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, and now
But see,
we
now
have
they
no
just
information.
admitted that the footage is not real. It's not of them actually on the moon.
Half truths, right?
Half truths. So essentially what we got here is let's see here. Venera 1 and 2, the first Soviet attempt at a flyby probe to Venus was launched on the 4th of February 1964, but failed to leave Earth orbit. In keeping with the Soviet policy at the time of not announcing details of failed missions, the launch was announced under the name Tezalak, some Russian bullshit, Sputnik, which means heavy satellite. It is also known as Venera 1 VA. Now, Venera is just Russian for Venus. So 1 and 2 were just flyby missions. Venera 2, so Venera 1 didn't make it out of orbit. Venera 2 was launched November 12th, 1965. So we went from February 12th, 1961 to November 12th, 1965 was the next launch.
And what is their reason to go to Saturn?
Well,
Dum dum dum.
well, not Saturn, Venus.
Oh, Venus. I'm sorry.
Venus.
But,
Well, what's their reason to go to Venus?
see, we're going to leave that up to the interwebs to theorize until they tell us.
Let us know, guys and gals.
Let's see here.
Well, you've
I'm
heard
trying
the
to find-
transcript
And
of,
lizard people.
I'm trying to find the one. Okay, Venera 3 became the first human-made object to impact another planet's surface as it crash-landed on March 1st, 1966. However, as the spacecraft's data probes had failed upon atmospheric penetration, no data from within the Venusian boundary were retrieved from the mission. 1967, Venera 4 became the first spacecraft to measure the atmosphere of another planet. While the Soviet Union initially claimed the craft reached the surface intact, reanalysis, including atmospheric occultation data, that's spooky,
That is weird.
from the American Mariner 5 spacecraft that flew by Venus the day after its arrival demonstrated that Venus's surface pressure from 75 to 100 atmospheres, much higher than Venera 4's 25 atmosphere hull strength, and the claim was retracted. Now, basically, this all goes up. They have up to 16 Venera missions. In 1983, Venera 15 and 16 spacecraft were orbiter missions, similar to previous probes, but the entry probes were replaced with surface imaging radar equipment. Radar imaging was necessary to penetrate the dense cloud of Venus. Now,
My question is, how far have we come in the last 60 years? Then?
exactly. This ends in 85. So,
So where did we go?
They
and why do
still
we not
have-
have the information to get back to the moon?
they still have satellites
Well,
in the orbit of
I think their
Venus, too.
argument on that is funding, which I find hard to believe.
It's not.
but
That's what they fucking tell
we
us.
fund
We know that they're
They say
full of
one-
shit.
$1 billion
of a penny.
wars. Yeah.
That's what they say. Is 1/10 of a penny goes towards NASA.
That's what they say.
That's what they say.
But now, NASA really is just the public face of a deeper space program.
Nazis?
Well, Nazis started NASA. Werner
that-
von Braun and all them motherfuckers.
Walt Disney and all them were part of the original
Funding.
NASA.
And Walt Disney was an astronaut. He just funded a lot of...
Mhm.
And he was an open Nazi sympathizer, too, I think. So I probably shouldn't say that unless I know for sure, but fuck it. He's dead. If
No,
you
he
don't-
was, bro.
Hey,
Come on.
Disney,
Like,
if
he
you don't want
was.
me to say it, then just give me some money. I'll shut up. But,
Fucking chill.
fuck yeah. So, Russia came out and admitted that they've been fucking with Venus for a long time. And now it goes back into, like all of our projects, in the United States government, black projects. Well, that's just when they stopped that project. Because all it takes is a half-truth, and all they got to do is go, okay, well, Venera stopped, but now we have a new space program that we're not going to tell you about that's just picked up where it left off.
Right.
And you don't even know what it's called, so you don't even know what to ask them.
And they've done that with
Everything.
so many different psyops.
Dude, everything.
So many.
Well, it's just like MK Ultra. They had learned enough within the barriers of the I'm doing the air quotes motion here, by the way, within the barriers of the project, that okay, we've learned enough that now we could start implementing it publicly. So when they stopped MK Ultra, that's just when they stopped doing research behind closed doors and they started pushing their research out through television and radio.
And saying it was psychological test and
Yeah, dude, what was that shit? The new smart TVs can read your facial expressions. They can read like your eyes, like when your eyes dilate and shit. There's a bunch of shit with smart TVs that are like super fucked up. So essentially, they know what to advertise to you. And we're like, oh, well, that's bullshit. Is it? Because everybody I know has talked about them talking about something and then it shows up on their fucking Facebook feed. You think Samsung isn't, or LG isn't doing that?
Well, they admitted that in
or,
CIA released documents where the Samsung TV the microphone was staying on.
Yeah.
Even when you turned it off, the
Yeah.
microphone would stay on and just record you. So,
Yeah.
and those were in released CIA documents.
Yeah. So now Google, if you own a business and you have a Google account through your business, which I'm pretty sure every business does, I only know this because I worked for somebody who showed me this. So somebody had been to our website and it sent him a notification. So he clicks in and goes to this guy's fucking profile essentially, and it shows his phone number, it shows all his information, where he's at on a map. It's got him pinged out on a map. And gives you the options to reverse advertise to these motherfuckers just for him going and looking at our product online.
To reverse advertise, what do you mean?
Reverse advertising. So, okay, this guy clicked and went to our website. He was only there for a couple seconds. But I'm now going to bombard him with spam, essentially. This is just layman's terms. But I'm going to send him emails about special promotions. And, oh, look at our new this.
Of
Oh,
products that he likes.
Yeah,
And
we have a coupon for this.
the things he looked at the time even. I've noticed that
Amazon does this, Google does this, everywhere does it. And especially if it has nothing to do with that. Like if you're just going and looking at fucking tampons or some shit, they can reverse advertise to you. I don't think they have to reverse advertise tampons because bitches need that shit. But that's just an example, all right?
But at the same time, right?
At
do
the
have
same
that.
time, they have the power to know exactly where you're at in the country, in the world, and send you bullshit just for going to their website. So, and that's just what we have in that's just what people are using. That's not going into the in-depth conspiratorial aspect. That's just the reality we're facing with that.
Yeah, that's not even military controlled stuff. That's just
I mean, it happens all. I get
Google.
ads for shit in my email all the time. That for shit I know, I just went there. I just went there. I checked out some supplements. I didn't buy anything because it's nothing I wanted. But now I'm getting emails from them, and they just call it advertising.
They just call it advertising.
Not knowing that they have access to your information, even where you're at on the globe. It's fucked up.
But at the same time, we don't have like universal Wi-Fi.
Hey, I'm reading this right now. I don't know if it's off topic, but back to Venus. NASA's flown by Venus as well in 1962.
Yeah.
It's called the Mariner. But they say, I think there's like a total of like, I don't know what they said, but it's a pretty high number, like 60 something times we've flown by or attempted to fly by Venus. But the planet Venus used to be thought of as a twin planet to Earth. That may be why they're pretty interested in trying to land on there. But with temperatures being scorching hot there, I think they were having an issue of that.
Yeah.
But I think they do have recorded video, like 50 minutes or something like that on there.
And it also makes me wonder if we were doing this stuff 60 years ago, then do we have are we multi-species planet?
Intergalactic
Are we?
spacefaring civilization. Yeah.
I mean, I think the universe is so big. I mean, I think it'd be crazy not to say that there's other life forms.
Well, I'm talking about us.
Oh,
I'm talking about have they went ahead and sent us Russia,
Well, I mean,
America? If they've been
per
doing it
Google,
since the 60s,
Well, see, that's the thing is that
per Google, they've all been unmanned.
they've all been unmanned.
But I'm sure 50 years from now, there'll be some type of conspiracy theory.
You're telling me they didn't send a monkey? At
Maybe.
least, at least.
Maybe.
Because that's what we're all trying to get to then. From my understanding of the broadening of science is making us a multi-planet, multi-species, allowing us to live throughout the actual galaxy.
But see, Russia, they have the only landers. Most of these we have the Venera series landers.
No, we have the Mariner.
No, Russia has Venera and Vega.
Yeah, we're Mariner.
Those were the two Venus space programs, and we have the Mariner as far as the United States goes. But most of these, half of them are landers. So they've already had at least half a dozen landers successfully land on the surface of fucking.
In 1970, Venera 7 was the first successful to return data after landing on the surface of Venus.
I want to say successful because some of these failed to leave.
Yeah.
No, to send data. Not to come back, but to send data. They were the first. It was the first one to send data successfully.
And let's see here. I'm looking at this giant chart of Venus missions. And I mean they're even posting coordinates of where they landed on the planet too. Soil samples. A soil sample
measuring
revealed
temperatures and
I don't even know how tholeiitic basalt similar to that found on Earth's mid-ocean ridges. Which, it's like people are like, "Oh, look how close all this is to Earth." It's like, well, we're all made up of the same shit. The same shit
within all of us.
Right, the same shit you're going to find on Earth, you're probably going to find on other planets.
protons. And electrons.
That's why we know what composes gas giants, because we have that same shit here. Helium and hydrogen and, sulfur and all this other crazy shit.
So what's your guys' thought on aliens? I know to go back to aliens.
Dude,
it's getting released tomorrow.
I'm a slut for aliens.
I
bro.
know. What do you think? Good, bad? I mean,
A little bit of both.
a little bit of both.
I think there's pieces of shit in every walks of life.
Yeah, maybe different alien races.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
And my question has always been is, what's their reason from hiding? If they're so advanced, if they're so beyond past what we are, what are they hiding for?
okay, because it's about
And why does every fucking video that we get of them grainy as shit, like 360p?
Yeah, that is a
Why?
good question, though.
We all have
We have
cell phones in our
iPhones, bro.
pockets. Yeah, and that would actually Neil deGrasse Tyson was just on Joe Rogan like a week ago.
I fucking hate that guy.
I don't know. I have mixed emotions on him. I think he's smart as shit, but I think he chases clout. a
Totally,
lot.
he's shilled out for sure.
Yeah, and he was saying the same thing. He's like, how the fuck does everybody have a phone in their pocket with a camera, and yet we can't? There's not more actual video.
That's dumb as fuck because they're being released almost every single fucking day. Okay,
I've
so
never seen an
Neil-
HD version of a UFO sighting.
Not a good one.
But then that also, if
That or it's all Android users. I don't know.
it probably is. But look at that video of the moon that was shot on like a fucking iPhone 12 Pro or some
Some
shit.
iPhone bitch.
And it's zoomed in on the moon, and you can see shadows of these craft on the surface of the moon. Okay, so Neil, just because you refuse to watch it or because you refuse to acknowledge it,
Hey, be careful with your words. Man.
no, fuck yourself.
Be careful with your
It's
words.
not just because you don't see it and you don't acknowledge it doesn't mean it's not out there.
Neil's gonna tear that ass up.
Oh, okay, good. Hey, make sure you mention P3 too.
Hey,
by the
and
way.
at the same time, though, Neil's the one that says the universe is no obligation to you.
Right,
So to you, the same, my guy.
right.
There is
You-
no obligation.
You're sitting here saying this, but you haven't even acknowledged or addressed all these other videos. You're just picking one shitty, grainy video and basing everything off of it, it seems like. I know you're probably not because you're a scientist, but maybe you should watch more of them.
And especially for an astrophysicist that knows how there's anomalies within the universe that we just can't explain. He knows this better than anyone. You would think that he would be very well open to
You would
the
think.
possibilities of UFOs, aliens, not just
Because
here.
well, he's not an astronomer either. Astronomers actually spend time looking at the sky. He's an astrophysics. He's theoretical sciences. He's not applied sciences. So that's why he says some of the shit he does, because he's not really seeing it firsthand. He knows how like suns work and all this other shit in theory, but he's not actually the one doing the observations. He's not really doing all that shit. He's just
I don't
working the
know.
numbers.
Whatever he's doing sounds great when it comes out of his mouth. So I
Well,
think that's
he
the
is
hard
smart.
part.
He is smart.
Yeah.
But then again, the lizards at the top are pretty.
I could
fucking
listen to that
smart,
guy
too.
all day.
I used to love him, dude. I learned a lot from him. But even Carl Sagan, his predecessor, when it comes to cosmos, Carl Sagan was even talking about aliens. He was the tits, bro.
Talking about OG, Carl
He was
Sagan.
the tits, bro. Carl Sagan, he ain't filling the shoes of Carl Sagan anytime soon.
So then, if you have to give your opinion on why aliens haven't just come out and said, hey, we're here,
Well, because then it would disrupt what they have going.
and what do they have going?
Our complacency and our dumbness. Because what they've been doing has been working.
Because hasn't everybody always said that they're here to collect resources in some way, and we're used to collect those resources? But to me, I don't
think
get
that's an excuse.
If they're beyond, if they've surpassed us in everything, why don't they just come down here and take what they want?
No, because that's what they tell you. They're here for resources.
What do you believe?
Because
that they're actually
turning
here for?
okay, if they were here, I've heard everything because I'm a slut for aliens. So that's a lot of my listening time has gone into alien shit. But turning lead into gold, right? They think that they're here to mine gold. The Anunnaki created us to mine gold so that they could shoot into their atmosphere and line their atmosphere with gold particles to help shield from UV light because they fucked up their atmosphere. Basically the scare about with us. That's fucking stupid because MIT, they have a machine that turns lead into gold. So if some dumb monkeys in a basement can create gold from lead, how can a spacefaring civilization... It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
That's a fair point. I didn't That's a fair point.
We humans can turn lead into gold now with technology.
You're telling me these motherfuckers?
You're telling me these motherfuckers have who knows how many light years?
So then why is gold worth so much?
Because it's the illusion that it's worth so much is more powerful than it actually being
Kind of
worth
how
that much.
we've created diamonds.
Well, gold is
In
just
a
kind of
lab
like a
as
currency.
well.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we
I mean,
still
it's just
sell them
superheated
for
carbon, right?
Crazy fucking prices.
There's motherfuckers making diamonds with peanut butter and charcoal. So I don't know if they disprove that or not, so don't quote me on that. But you know, TikTok.
TikTok.
Well,
No, I think gold. It's from the dawn of time. They talk about gold being something of importance, showing purity and.
It is important, but it's not a definitive amount because all it is just molecules. So if we can change the molecules and how they're formed and how many hydrogen, all that shit. I'm not a scientist, but if you can
Clearly not.
Clearly. I'm wearing white today though. But as long as you can alter base materials, you're fine.
so then why are they here, Justin? Why are they here?
Because absolute power corrupts absolutely, and if you have a warring, dominating civilization, which we've seen on just the face of our planet, why do you think that doesn't extend out to other races and other planets?
I don't know.
And that's what we're looking at. We're just looking at a warring civilization. So resources, when they say resources, it's not really gold. It's not really this or that. They could just be using us for experiments and trying to create new, better versions of themselves. But this is where the archons and shit come in that we talked about last week, is they don't have the same type of consciousness as us. They have a more animal consciousness. The reptilian side dominates their brains and not ours. So that's why I think that we've been kind of integrated with their DNA to try to suppress our inherent quantum abilities, because their brain dulls that part of our brain down.
The creativity part.
Right.
Right.
The creativity and the whole us being what we're supposed to be. They could try, but it doesn't work because it's going against nature, natural law. And this is where the Kabbalion and Hermeticism comes in, because Hermeticism just outlines natural law.
Yeah, I mean,
You don't have anything to add to that?
no, that was it. It sounded right to me.
But
Well,
now what I think it was at Groom Lake or some shit like that. There was a book that was written about a security guard that he worked for one of these secret bases, right? Area 51, Groom Lake, S4, something like that. And there was levels. So like it was an underground base like we had talked about when we were bullshitting about David Adair. But the first, like 7 levels were designated for humans. And then all the levels below it were off limits. And that's where he says, now this was like this was a minute ago. This was like in the 80s or 90s or some shit. This book came out. And he was describing the Greys and them keeping people down there, and the people that they were abducting were like homeless people or children, that foster children that just go missing all the time. This type of shit that we see to this day in conspiracies.
explain to the people who are listening who are Greys. The Greys.
The Greys are believed to be, now there's different versions of the Greys at the same time. Now when I say the Greys, I'm talking about the short, typical alien with the big head, the big almond eyes, the gray skin,
No dick,
built like fucking Elon Musk. Anyways,
Kindle.
smooth between the legs.
I'm talking about Elon like that.
Don't
Yo,
do it.
Yo, pay me. Anyways, Now these are believed to be kind of like a
reptilian humanoid.
right. So they are kind of like a organic cyborg.
These are like the traditional movie aliens.
Yes. Now they say that these were created as a slave species, as a slave race to the reptilians, the Draco reptilians, which are the head honcho dickheads when it comes to evil beings that we have to deal with, are the Draco reptilians. They come from the star cluster Alpha Draconis and all this other shit. We're going to get into it, I promise you, because this shit makes my dick hard. It's just not today. Anyways, that they could be programmed. This goes into last week about altered carbon and then being able to manufacture consciousness and all this other shit. Why I don't want Elon putting a microchip in my brain. So they're just a slave race for the reptilians. You have the tall grays and the tall whites, which are their own. They're separate. They look similar, but they're different. You also have to keep in mind that there's no more pure races in the universe, because the universe is so old and we aren't the first technologically advanced one. They say the Pleiadians were already a spacefaring civilization when we crawled out of the primordial ooze. So now think about that. How long has the muskrat fish that we were, what, millions of years ago, a couple million? I don't even know how many millions of years.
They say like 4 million years ago.
And you already got species already going to different planets. Now they have if the Pleiadians are really like that, and we don't see them and we don't know about them, it's because there's a reason. They aren't stupid. There's a reason why they aren't out in the open. Even the Draconians, they aren't out in the open. There's a reason for it.
And getting back to, Gabe asking why they're not out in the open and stuff like that, or why we're not seeing them on such a wide scale. Do you go outside and look at ants?
No.
Exactly.
I mean, I see them every now and then.
Every once in a while.
But there are also people who claim to see reptilians too.
And think about how big the world is at the same time.
Social media makes the world seem small, but it's still not. It's still the world.
Yeah.
There's still hundreds and hundreds of miles of places that have no internet.
What is it Blue Book that outlines all the different alien species that our government knows about?
Mm-hmm.
There is government documents that have been released that talk about different alien species that the government has been in contact with. So when we start talking about the blue avians, we start talking about the Draco reptilians, just to let you know, we heard that from the government first.
Yeah. Project Blue Beam is a real thing.
Blue Beam is the atmospheric holograms and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Blue Book is the aliens.
Oh, Blue Book. Yeah, that's right.
Now,
don't they say that once that is released, or the government at some point is going to use that Project Blue Beam to create basically a crisis,
Yeah. Well, that was the whole thing.
and to not believe it. I've heard that somewhere. I don't know where.
Yeah. The fake alien invasion.
Yeah. Because that's kind of how humans are wired, right? Once something huge happens, we all kind of band together. Kind of a reason of
Reagan talked
why
about
they created
that, bro.
football, because of after the war, that young men didn't have anything to do, so
Well, and there's a reason why
they created football to kind of get that
stadiums are
aggression.
shaped like
and-
coliseums too.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
It's all symbolic. They reuse the same shit. They're not original.
give them bread in coliseums, and they'll never.
They're the
revolt.
archons. They can't create anything new. That's why all this shit is so old, is because they just keep using what's already been created.
Yeah. Or give them bread in circuses. That's
Yeah.
what it was.
That
And
was
they'll
Bill
never
Cooper.
revolt.
That was Bill Cooper.
No, that was who was that? That wasn't Bill Cooper.
I mean, Bill Cooper did say that.
I was gonna say-
I'm like, half truth.
No, it
Half
was
true.
Let's go ahead and hear
Yeah,
the
it's from
source
like
here.
Roman times, dude.
Oh, would you look at that? Rome.
Juvenal.
Again.
Juvenal? I don't know who that is. Some crazy looking dude. Roman dude.
Smoke and mirrors.
But it all comes back to Rome, too.
A poet named Juvenal. I hope I'm saying that right. Everybody's
Probably not.
people who are balls deep in this are beating their head against
Juvenile.
their steering wheel. Like, fuck you.
Juvenile.
He makes a good meatball.
Fucking asshole.
Fucking asshole.
So
boy.
I don't even know what we were talking about. How we even got on aliens and shit.
Fucking
but
aliens are coming, man.
The
Be
aliens
ready.
have been here, bro. See,
Oh, yeah.
that's-
Well, they're going to reveal themselves.
see,
Sorry.
that's what they want you to think is that the aliens aren't here.
Don't
but
fucking
really,
point at me.
Don't point
I'm
me.
just gonna point at him the rest of the show.
Fucking point at me. Put your little arm down.
They have been here this whole time. There's an interview. Lacerda. Okay, now this is all alleged because obviously there's no way of proving or disproving it. I just seen it on YouTube. It's probably fake. But it also gives a really good, it's got information in it that makes you go, it makes you wonder, right? But essentially what it is the transcripts of this interview with this reptilian being. And what she was saying is that all the underground, I don't even know what you call them, the underground homes, like giant underground bases that are ancient, right? Multiple levels, vent tubes, doors that could be open only from one side,
You have
and they're ancient, right?
living cows and chickens.
Right. They have
and
livestock, all this other shit that they were originally built by a reptilian species that was here when we weren't even here yet. So it's really their planet. She even says that, like, it's not your planet. It was originally our planet, but we just chose to live with you guys. The reason why we were drove underground is because she was basically explaining that there was wars. And that's where the Anunnaki and all this other shit comes in. The Anunnaki and the Draco reptilians come in. Because they're having a war, they fuck up the atmosphere and make the surface inhabitable for them. So they just go underground. But now they've been underground for so long that that's where they're adapted to. So that's just where they stay. So that's basically what that's all I had to say.
People are like, what?
Like,
the
that's
fuck?
fucking crazy. Just go check it out. It's interesting at the very least.
Yeah, no. I've
But
seen
now-
the interview. It's
At the same time, not all reptilians
Anything's a possibility.
are going to be evil. Not all Draco reptilians are evil.
not all shapeshifters are evil. Not
Well, shape-shifting, this is where the shape-shifting comes in, is because we've been talking about this for 3 weeks now, is that physical reality isn't physical. It's all an illusion. And David Icke explains this perfectly. David Icke explains this perfectly.
That fucking guy.
Is they're just altering the energy fields to what your eyes do see and can see. That's why you always get these weird glitchy shit, or like an eyeball will pop out or some shit. Is because if they get overstimulated or overexcited about something, then it kind of throws them off and fucks with the illusion that they're pushing out.
and how often was David Icke right though as
Dude.
well?
Yeah, he got all his shit from Jordan Maxwell. Of course he's right.
That's true, though.
Yeah, that is true.
That's true. Jordan Maxwell is the originator.
Yeah, I'm not a David Icke fan.
No,
No? How come?
No. After listening to Jordan Maxwell talk about him, no. I mean, he literally stole all his information and gained huge financial gain off of it.
I mean, he didn't really get that big of a finance. Have you seen the place where he lives?
No.
Yeah, it's like an
I mean,
apartment.
he's doing
It's not-
tours and shit.
Yeah, but he's not.
Maybe he's frugal.
Rich.
Maybe he likes to live humble.
He was probably making more money.
As a soccer commentator?
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know.
So I think he's just getting by. I mean, he's probably got some money to spend, but it's not like what Jordan Maxwell makes it out to be.
I know, but look at everybody talks about David Icke. No one talks about Jordan Maxwell.
Want to know where Jordan Maxwell fucked up?
Where?
He expected to be rewarded for what
Yeah,
he was
that
doing.
is true. I give you that. Yeah.
So therefore, he fucked himself.
Yeah.
Now, Jordan, I respect him. as for what he's done to bring all this kind of
Well, he's old as
information to
shit
light.
too. I just heard him on that one podcast I told you about.
Yeah.
That Wu-Tang one, and he was just
Wu-Tang.
completely fucking like donate, which, you know, cool, promote yourself. Not every other sentence, but you know, I don't know, man. He's old as fuck. He's like 80-something
He's
years
old
old,
as
dude. Maybe he's
fuck,
just kind
bro.
of lost it, you know. Everyone's hated on him his whole life, you know.
You
Gave
know,
him
it's
shit.
fucking wear him down.
But then
bro.
at the same time, there was a lot of people that loved him. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I
No,
don't
you
know,
are
man.
right with the whole David Icke, Jordan Maxwell thing. But it's never the message. It's always the messenger. I mean,
Yeah.
No, it's never the messenger. It's always the message.
right.
You got that.
But when it
backwards.
comes with people like this, you have to look at the messenger of these people.
Oh, dude, totally.
Because it's David Icke says some
Goofy shit.
goofy shit, but then in the context of it, it's like, oh, that makes sense.
It comes out
The same
sounding
with Alex
goofy,
Jones.
like probably like what a lot of shit I say. It comes out goofy, but the point of what I'm saying is actually profound. If you really take it and break it down for yourself and digest it, you're gonna get something out of that.
I mean, aren't all people who try to learn so much a little goofy? I mean,
Oh yeah,
think of all the shit you have to try to understand. I mean, that would drive someone fucking crazy.
right.
You know?
And people complain that we bounce all over the place. It's like, but dude,
And the normal people, they just see all of it and they're like, fuck that. You know,
Right.
I
don't want nothing to do with
it.
that.
Yeah,
and so
dude.
you expect the guy who does go balls deep into it to be sane?
right,
To be fucking sane?
right.
I mean,
I gotta dodge around motherfuckers attacking me for what I'm saying, even though it's founded in reality.
yeah, but not even that. Not even conspiracy. Scientists. I mean,
Oh,
look how
dude,
fucking
even
crazy
for
they are.
sure.
Look at how weird Elon is. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
fuck, dude.
I think it's the Asperger's.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe. I think he does have Asperger's, doesn't he?
He's got to be retarded on some level. He's on the spectrum.
I don't know. Maybe. Are you hating on him again?
Always.
Dude, don't get me started. I could fucking hate on Elon all day.
Jesus Christ,
It's envy.
haters,
Envy.
It's envy. It is a
fucking
It's
hater.
partial envy. It's
green's just not a
partial.
good color on you.
I hope we're all driving Teslas here in fucking 20 years.
Dude, you know, they say to get, just because I thought about it, you know, the movie Jupiter Ascending with Mila Kunis and Channing Tatum? Have you seen it?
I don't
No.
think so.
Well, they are. God, you guys don't fucking watch shit, bro. Everything I say, have you seen it? No. Fuck you guys. Anyways, they're like
Stop crying.
these.
I know, right? You're like, Jupiter is ascending.
What was her name though? It was Mila Kunis.
Yeah, and Channing Tatum.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna
Yeah,
watch it.
And all it is about like aliens and
Definitely
shit.
gonna watch it.
But like the gods, like the top tier aliens, look like us. They look exactly like humans, like really pretty and like really good looking. They have pools of immortality that they just walk in and they're young again. And who works for them are the best depictions of the Draco reptilians in any pop culture reference. Because they're giant. They got fucking wings. But now they say they also have little gray aliens that work for them too, that are creepy as fuck looking. They could just cloak themselves. That's how they abducted Mila Kunis to begin with, is because they were posing as doctors and put some shit in her, you know.
Oh.
Yeah, you're talking about getting probed.
Right, a little proby. Yo, I gotta go
Yeah.
pee. I apologize.
You know what? Actually, this is a good spot to
wrap it
leave
up.
off. Today, I hope you enjoyed our fucking show. It originally was supposed to be about the Kabbalion, but I mean,
I think we talked enough about the
it's
Cabal.
it's pretty straightforward. Just go read the Kabbalion and learn a little bit about Hermeticism. That way you know what we're talking about. Well, until
Hopefully
next
Austin will be back next week.
week. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
This is P3, y'all.
P3.
Purple pill.
Justin, David.
Gabe.
Later.
Later. Love you.
Love you.